Hello out there, and welcome back to TableTalk, Discussion, and Discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Great on 95.
Coming at you again, the host whose first and foremost priority is keeping you safe indoors with plenty of content to enjoy. Your second host, Aiden. ItsSneakyAdolf.
And it's me, your third host, and I got a bowl of Mexican rice with a bunch of meat and chipotle sauce in it. It's fucking good.
Ooh,
Yeah.
good stuff. Good stuff.
I have a nice jar of mango lemonade.
I have.
Shouldn't it be Mangoade?
Oh,
No, because there's lemon.
Okay.
I have a gallon jug of Arizona lemon flavored iced tea.
I got
have
water.
crippling depression.
Yeah, well, hey.
I have osteoporosis.
I have genital herpes.
I'm gay.
Eh,
Anyway,
so is that one guy's baby.
Yeah, it's God damn it. Okay, so welcome back. Thanks for tuning in again. Please don't leave.
Don't leave me alone with them.
We have today we're going to be talking about role playing in D&D. But before we do that, we have to address something that's been going on Twitter, and I realize now. Yes, we do. I realize now that I'm lagging a bit, so this is going to be kind of weird for the boys on the other end, unfortunately. But so everybody remembers that time where racists called orcs black people. It's God, I thought it would stop there, but it hasn't.
Yep.
It continues to be a thing that I see that people are talking about. D&D being I don't know what the terms are. I don't know political terms.
Racially insensitive.
Yep.
Patriarchal.
Right. Yes.
Right wing, left wing, whatever.
Whichever wing, yeah, isn't
middle wing.
Whichever one isn't the one that they're on.
Cishet normie scum.
Right. Right. Yes.
For the beardy boys in the basement.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So I see, and I will pull it up right now. There is, and the person who put these screenshots up of tweets, they obviously are being sarcastic because I've looked at their profile and that's their thing. And so seeing people say D&D is messed up because of the idea of an evil elf culture that is dark-skinned underground matriarchy that is focused on horniness. Or things like let's see, why the fuck are subterranean people dark-skinned other than racism, of course.
In fairness, they should not be dark-skinned.
I agree.
They should be pale.
Them and
I agree.
the Duergar I've always found weird.
It is quite strange.
I thought the Duergar were like super pale and gray. That's why they're called the Grey Dwarves.
They're gray.
They're like coalish and gray.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've seen different depictions of dark elves being also like light, like grayish. As well.
The one that I would actually lean more towards instead of the Duergar, I would say the Svirfneblin, the deep gnomes.
Those ones,
because they're like charcoal.
Those ones,
like they're not black, but they're like really like blue black.
Svirfneblin or whatever, Smurfs, as everyone knows them. They are supposed to be the color of their environment around them because that's how. That's like they get bonuses to hiding in like rocky terrain and stuff.
Gotcha.
So that's an actual evolutionary feature for them.
It's a camouflage for them. Got it.
Exactly. And so the other thing is that somebody else pointed out at some point that the Drow and the Duergar also got that, so they could also have that kind of feature, but it's not like something that is given to them in the books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, sure, that's fine. And then there's also this other fucking tweet that says, "Have totally started changing my games. Evil is never a group. Have stopped using the term race. Never use goblinoids as antagonists, especially at low levels. All encounters have non-violent alternatives. It makes for a more nuanced game, and nobody has noticed."
Well, see, now the thing is,
Yeah.
why never at low levels?
Right.
Yeah.
Like that, that's just poor game balancing. Unless if you juice the fuck out of your goblins, which
Yeah.
you do. But somehow I get the feeling that this person doesn't.
God fucking forbid you run into a demon.
Right.
Yeah. Evil is never a group. No.
No.
Look,
You can
hey,
absolutely have evil be groups.
Yeah.
It could be the reanimated skeleton of a good guy.
Yeah.
That an necromancer brought up, and he's good.
Oh, but it's not the guy; it's a skeleton.
But
so
the skeleton's good.
Oh,
Don't get a
Yeah,
it's not. It's not.
not on undead.
Goodness is in the bones. That's why they call good people milk drinkers.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's things like this that I keep seeing more and more that I don't understand. And somebody put it. Another person posted, and I don't remember what the exact quote was, and I don't have it for you right now, unfortunately. But they said basically that there are some people who are coming into this hobby to shut it down and not to play it. They're just there to see what they don't like and just start saying shit about it.
Cancel and then culture.
Cancel culture. Exactly. They're trying to cancel it just because that's what they do. Which I hope that's not the case. It seems to be something that's a thing, which I don't.
Here's the thing.
I don't agree with.
I believe that is happening, but if D&D will survive the actual like media calling it satanic and all that, these little bitches that are getting mad over the fact that dark elves have dark skin, they're not going to do shit.
Exactly. I know that literally. Well, okay, I won't say that. I will say.
Well, why are dark elves evil, man, and elves are good? Are you saying that dark is evil?
So that's the other thing.
Okay, so you can't say the darkness in someone's heart. What is darkness?
Right.
Bad?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I happen to think that fuchsia is absolutely atrocious.
Well, I believe that green is evil because if you think about it, plants are green, and if we leave our house for like a week, plants will start growing all over the place. They're trying to take over the world.
I see. Yeah. No, I mean, I watched The Happening, so really.
Yeah. Fucking.
So
M. Night Shyamalan was fucking a prophet.
It's true. So basically, this is I know that most people, I'm going to go out on a limb and say most people who play the game, who are into the hobby, don't think like these people.
Yes.
They play the game, and they kind of like, if they don't accept like everything in it, which a lot of us don't, then they change it to fit their setting, their table. They do all that kind of shit in order for it to actually work for them, right?
Exactly.
And I feel like, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here, maybe if you don't like something in the game that is so homebrewable that it's just amazingly, like, you could turn it into an entirely different game, maybe you could, I don't know, take out the things that you don't like. Maybe you can make the Dark Elves good.
That would involve them knowing how to play the game and knowing how to homebrew.
Well, literally also one of like the most popular player races is Drow anyway, because people love being edgy dark elves.
Yeah, there's that, and like the other thing that I gotta say is like fucking even in the Dark Elves there are good people in there. You've got
Dorton.
Yeah, exactly. There's Driz. He's the hero of, like, he is the Dark Elf hero. Yeah. Right? And
he's the goodest boy.
He's the goodest boy of them all. And like they have these parallels that you can go and look at of like, this is the matriarchal society that is evil. Oh no, bad for the matriarchy, down with the patriarchy.
Yeah, clearly the fact that they happen to be matriarchal and happen to be evil is clearly a bash at woman.
Exactly.
It's not that their
correlation equals causation.
Yeah, it's not that their goddess basically hates the men of the race and only makes the females powerful.
Yep.
I mean,
and honestly, fucking
tell me that an evil god is sexist.
Also, hey, don't forget that Lolth actually just hates all dark elves and wants them all to suffer because that's what she likes. She loves the fact that they are all at war with each other because that gives her that big old boner, dude.
Yep.
She loves it.
Big old spider lady boner.
Yup. So that's a thing. It's
hey, you know what? If you're offended by dark elves, have you considered playing the tabletop role-playing game Fate of Cthulhu?
Oh, Aiden, why don't you educate me on this? I've heard many great things about Cthulhu. It makes me want to get a copy of the game and burn it in praise to the game.
So that's just, it's one of the, I fucking hope, and unfortunately these kinds, I feel like this kind of look at this without delving too deep and actually trying to understand things, this is going to influence so many people. And I saw like some replies to some of these posts of like one person was like, I blame Critical Role for bringing in these thin-skinned people. And I'm like, okay, so you can't necessarily blame only Critical Role for this.
No.
It's just people are the way they are, and they're gonna find their way here, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna blame anything, blame Stranger Things. That one's okay. Because Matt's our friend, not Stranger Things.
Yeah. So, I understand that being very inclusive is cool, right?
Yeah.
Everybody likes to be included in things and not throwing people out of things because of like race and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's bad, but that's the real world that we're in.
Yeah,
right?
As unfortunate as it is, that shit happens.
Yeah, that is the real world that we're in, and being able to use that in a setting and emulate that in order to kind of teach lessons or just to have conflict that you can overcome and try to figure out a way that's like diplomatic or something that will actually be beneficial. That shit is so good for a story, for a hero character to go through.
Because how many stories have there been where there's an evil empire made up of only this,
right?
And then the hero is the other race, and he's the underdog, and he like overthrows them, and the world is now happy because you beat the evil guys,
right?
Despite the fact that as soon as you disagree with these people, they claim that you are a fascist.
Right, exactly.
These people claim that evil is never a group.
But then if evil is never a group, then good is never a group, then nothing is a group, then why are groups a thing? Why do groups exist?
There are no groups.
No, there can be groups of good, but evil is just generalized and institutionalized and internalized, and any other polysyllabic word that I can just keep on adding prefixes and suffixes to in order to sound smart.
It's good. I feel very oppressed and I'm happy.
See.
So it's just, I hope and I trust that all of our viewers and all of our listeners are smart enough to not worry about this bullshit.
Let's be honest here.
They know. They're the enlightened ones.
Exactly.
Let's be honest here. We talk so much shit about so many people, and we make so many shitty jokes, and we're so adversarial to people.
Yep.
If people still follow us, I think they get it.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? You're right.
Like, if they follow us and they like our content, I feel like they get it.
If you are adversarial to everyone, it should shine through that you're not really adversarial to anyone.
Exactly.
You're just talking shit.
We're just ribbing and doing all this kind of things. Anyway.
Unless it's Fate of Cthulhu and RPG Pundit, then we're being serious.
Also, never forget that Evil Hat Productions.
Yes.
which produced Fate of Cthulhu,
Right.
in an attempt to be more like open to everyone
Yep.
and stuff like that. Also released a product called Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
Yep, that's right.
Which like over sexualizes them
I
and
completely forgot about that.
literally
Thank you.
is literally cashing in on a sexuality.
Yep.
Hmm.
It's that whole
I
hey,
mean,
money
dude,
here, money there.
I'm a lesbian. I agree.
Okay, well there you go.
I never knew you were a trans woman, Boo.
No. I showed you the video, Steven the lesbian.
Yeah, it's true.
You remember that.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Come on now.
Try as I may to forget it, you did.
All right, so Aiden, if you could get into the watch together, my man.
Oh, if you insist.
I must, because
Actually,
we're gonna be covering XP to level 3 again. He has a video on how to be better at role playing in D&D.
I'll be right back in just a moment. I just need to turn my fan on.
Oh sure, yeah, go for it. But yes, he put this out. Oh, let me see. I will go and find it out.
Oh, this thumbnail does not spark joy.
I haven't seen the thumbnail itself.
It is Stranger Things.
Right, that's right. Yes. For some reason he has Stranger Things in the thumbnail because Stranger Things is popular, that's why.
Because they're so good at role playing.
No.
Yeah, you know.
They beat Demogorgon by rolling a 13.
Yeah, we've seen so much of their role play. We saw, you know, a turn and a half of a combat.
There's also one other time in season 3.
Yeah, season 3.
Where they have a moment where Will is trying to get them to play D&D, but they're too absorbed in their girl things because they really don't understand girls. And he keeps going, hey guys, let's play D&D. And then he starts being like the wizard and he's like, you know, and he gets into it a bit.
Guys, why don't you like my dungeon? Guys, please like my dungeon. Guys, I am screaming at you to like my dungeon.
Can't you hear by the sound of my voice?
That's not the point of it. The point of it is to try to get them to take their minds off it, and play, right? And try to get back to normalcy where he can't get normalcy anymore because they just don't do like D&D anymore.
Because Will's a simp, yes.
Yes. But thankfully he learns his lesson, and he's just
man, that's offensive to somebody.
They should be offended.
You can be offended all you want. It doesn't change the fact that it's said. Yay!
If you want to fix the fact that you're offended, don't be a simp, and then it's no longer about you.
Yeah. So this video was posted.
Let's be honest. You're a simp. Nothing is about you.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. So this was posted in February of current year. And so yeah, let's start it out here.
Sponsored by Stibble's Codex of Companions, a new book with familiars, pets, and critters. Link below.
Which I really still want, because this is from RuneSmith, and he made like a whole thing about like companions and shit. And like a system about it, and it looks really cool, and I didn't buy it because I didn't have money at the time.
Yeah,
but
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Below and more info at the end of the video. So you're playing D&D, and while you're playing, and role-playing more specifically, you feel like everybody around you is way better at it. You feel like you've made a terrible character. You can't focus on your character's voice or traits. You get super anxious and overthink it.
Oh, right. This is the one I requested, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. This is. I remember watching this, and this is fine.
Yeah. This is a fucking excellent video. Yeah. Top tier.
You get tired, and then you stop playing. And, well, now you're here. I'm going to help you out. First of all, what you're feeling is completely normal. Everybody feels this way. And if somebody has never ever felt this before while playing Dungeons & Dragons, then they're completely lying.
Not true. There are probably some people who are born actors that are super into it immediately.
But those make up a statistically insignificant portion of the population.
I
would say.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that's definitely the case that somebody out there is totally fine, right? This is the case for most people, myself included.
Fucking actorist, man.
Yeah, I know. But this is the case for most people. I agree. This is a thing for most people that it's just like, fuck, I don't feel confident in like anything. Whew.
I don't know. I would not say I've ever felt unconfident in my characters. I would say that as time has gone on, I've become a better role player. And looking back to some of my old characters, I'm like, yeah. But
I would say starting out, I've been unconfident. Like every character I start with, I'm like, is the character going to hit? Right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's not just like, it doesn't persist as long as I'm continuing to play the character.
Yeah. But like, even if the character doesn't hit, like, you made the character for you.
I mean, for me, like if it hits for me. Sometimes characters don't hit for you,
Like Colungo.
Like Colungo didn't. He never hit.
I know.
And he got hit.
Yeah, I was gonna say everything hit with Colungo.
Yeah. And they're just trying to show how good they are at role-playing. I've been playing the game for about 5-ish years now, consistently playing nearly every day for the past year and a half. And I know that even the greatest of role players and the best of actors still get nervous and fumble while in character. Even I do it all the time. Role-playing is spooky because you have no idea how other people are going to react. Which is why so many people favor playing online in text format, because you can type out everything beforehand and think about what you're going to say, and you don't have to sound dumb while it happens. But your group doesn't necessarily do that. You're probably like everybody else, where you play face-to-face right in front of each other, and that makes you nervous. Maybe it has to do with social anxiety, maybe it has to do with the fact that you're afraid, but it's okay. We're all here for you. Now, your situation may...
Yeah! like legitimately, thank you. It's something that's important that everyone should know, that the table is there for everyone to have fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Playing as a group, not as a collection of single people.
Exactly.
Yeah, he makes a point later on, and I'll like reserve my thoughts until then, where like he really doubles down on that, and I think it's excellent. As something that like I have like somewhat felt from time to time. But yeah.
No, it's very important, and this is, I'm glad that this is a thing that he made, because. I mean, I'm not going to say not enough people do it, because I'm pretty sure like every YouTube or every content creator that makes D&D content at some point kind of does this. But I think it's important that it keeps being restated, because new players exist, and they're going to keep existing, and actually having many examples from many different people to drive this point home is very important. So, yeah.
May not be identical to what I'm explaining or giving examples of, but the advice I'm about to give you should help you. And I'm not trying to tell you how to be better at it. This is more of a way that you can help yourself feel better about role-playing. First of all, have fun with your friends. D&D is a game, and everyone around you is also playing a game. We aren't secretly playing a different game where we're all going to try and judge you and everybody else on who can do the best French accent. And if there is somebody that's doing that, they should really knock it off. Remember that your friends are there.
That right there was, I think, probably the biggest thing for me for a while.
Right.
Is like, who has the best implemented character? Oh no, I don't want to be that guy with the backstory that isn't really relevant or compelling. I want to be the guy with the best character, and oh no, like, is this secretly a competition? And it's like, nah, dude, we're just hanging out, having a snack, drinking some drinks, rolling some dice, and having a few laughs.
Yeah, exactly. It's... Oh, excuse me. It's
telling
definitely
like a communal story.
Exactly, yeah. It's definitely become... Thankfully, it's become more of that... Excuse me. With every edition, it's become more and more apparent that that is the case, right?
Yeah.
Because back in the day, yes, it was an adversarial game, DM versus players, and it was, hey, let's get as much as we can to like level and all this shit. It was very video gamey,
power game,
and power gamey, But nowadays, it's fucking chill. You can just sit there, you can relax, or you can have something tense happen, or you could just have just whatever happen. It's great. And everybody's there to enjoy it. And it's fantastic. It's unique unlike anything else. Tabletop role-playing games are unique beyond anything else out there, I would say.
There to have fun. Isn't that what you're doing too? So relax. I know that's hard, but relax. And remember that everyone around you is doing the same thing that you're doing. They're going through the same motions in their brain.
Halo music?
And they probably feel similarly to you.
It's good stuff, dude.
I know, it's just kind of weird.
Well, no,
just hearing it. I know, it's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, I know. I think I understand.
I'm like,
I understand. Yeah, I understand why it's being used because it's a lighter tone. You can hear like the kind of angelic-ish stuff.
And like, I'll also take this opportunity to double down. Take a deep breath. Relax. Yes, it's hard. I know you hear someone saying relax, and that like
immediately
makes you ball up into more stress. But like, take a second or a third deep breath if you can. Take a pause. Take a reset. Relax, and now proceed.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I know I've said this before to the group that I'm playing with on Wednesdays, and I'll reiterate it here. It took me 2 months before I joined that group because I was so fucking nervous.
What group?
The group that I play with on Wednesdays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, around here. So it took me 2 months before like I had found it, and I was like, I like D&D. I want to play with people, in person, you know. And so it took me 2 months to like actually psych myself up enough to go and play, right?
Yeah.
And then when I was there, I was immediately like having those cold sweats of like, oh, these are new people. Oh, they're not gonna like my character. Oh, I don't know how this is gonna go. Like all that shit was going on, but
yeah,
I kept just kind of going for it just because it was one of those things of like, okay, I need to make this. I want to make this work because I want to have a good time and all this shit. And like, I know they're not gonna be here going. I know they probably are, at least sorry. In my brain, I was like, they're gonna make fun of you and they're gonna not be as into the game as you are. But then, you know, I thankfully wasn't right about that because everybody's there to just play.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Trying to get at is that you're not alone. And it's not a competition. If you don't feel comfortable about saying something, don't. If you don't want to overexert yourself, don't. Nobody is going to judge you for that. And if somebody does, then they're in the wrong. Having fun with your friends means role-playing with them, not at them. Don't try to be clever at every given moment and try to come up with something cool to say that will make everybody impressed. Ask other players questions about their characters. Maybe things that you're just curious about. Maybe your character relates to another character in a certain way, and that can be a bonding moment for the two of you. Maybe you just want to talk to them and understand what the meaning of life really means. Or maybe you just want to talk about magic spells or something along the lines of that. Or what you're currently doing in the mission right now. Or your true feelings for them. That alone will make you feel so much more comfortable because you can relate your situation and your role-playing to another person instead of just...
Man, I have to tell you this. I really, really, really hate you. Oh, God, I finally got that off my chest.
That would be so good. Oh, I would fucking love that.
Still be adventurers.
I was afraid that I would die without being able to tell you just how much you really meant to me as a person that I hate.
I would love it if that happened. Like,
you're not alone.
Oh, I would love it if that happened in an actual fucking game. Like,
yeah.
Somebody were to listen to that.
I swear to God, every time you make the stew at night and you cut the carrots lengthwise, I fantasize about going back to your crib and seeing little baby you and just killing you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Or when you eat the Pocky backwards.
Yeah. It's definitely. Oh man, that'd be so good.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that he's encouraging you to find that connection. It's definitely better to relate your characters to other characters by actually having them ask questions, because you as a person have questions about each other's characters, so why wouldn't your character have those questions? Right? It becomes a natural kind of segue into actually talking, which is important. Please talk with your party.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially too, because, and this is a little trick for if you're ever unsure what to say around people. Most people love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
Not all, but like a fair portion of them do. So if you're ever unsure where to go next in the conversation, you can just like try to take the way that the conversation has been going and lead that into the person somehow talking about themselves as something that is like along the same tangent as the
Yes.
conversation. So like if you're ever unsure what your character's doing, and like say you're traveling or something in a wagon, you can just start talking to another player, like in character. Your character talking to them and be like, so why did you say that to that guy back there?
Yeah.
And most people who have like developed characters will love to share about their character.
And I mean,
And
even if they don't have a developed character, it'll give them a moment to like think about it.
yeah, or to ad lib, or
Mhm.
maybe they're not feeling quite so confident and they go, I don't know. Hey, by the way, how did you see that ambush coming? What's up with that? Well, like I spent some years in the army. Oh, really? My father did. And like it can cause a whole like group discussion about everyone's characters' backstories, and the DM is sitting there behind his screen, like hands folded and just like smiling.
Mhm.
Um, because there's nothing better than a party, um, a D&D group that is made of friends, but also a party that's made of friends.
Yeah, exactly.
You were in the army. Oh, my dad died in the army.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Anyway.
My father fought for the Germans back in
Oh.
about 50 years ago.
Oh,
Really?
Oh.
What? Oh, well, my dad fought for the Allies.
Oh.
Son of a bitch. It's like,
Yeah,
well, my dad.
my father died in France. Oh, well, that was actually my father was injured in France, but that was the last battle he fought in.
They say he took down 1,000 Germans single-handedly.
Yeah.
So
And he mentioned one particularly pathetic one that pissed his pants as he died.
Yeah, they called him German Killer Jenkins.
Anyway,
Nazi Killer Ned.
The other thing that I want to say about what he said, he said that if you're not feeling confident that you don't have to talk. I agree to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent, because there's only one way to build confidence in that aspect, and it's when you have to start talking.
Exactly. If you're not feeling confident about it, definitely like take the back seat and listen to the conversations that are going on around you. And if you can interject with something that kind of gets your character to interact in, even if it's just a minimal way, you know, it'll help to start getting you to the point of being more and more confident to actually talk. And if you're not good at coming up with things on the spot, that's fine, you know, just take, and like quite literally, if you look at our D&D campaign, Devils and Dice, that we've been doing, fucking I will, and I do this regardless, in real life as well, in everything that I've ever done, I will just go, all the time. I will stutter things out, because I can't think of everything on the spot sometimes, and sometimes my brain goes a little too fast than my mouth, and then I'm like, wait, where am I going?
I love too that you said my brain goes a little too fast than my mouth.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Like,
really drives that home.
I'm not good at speaking, but I like to do it. And so it's one of those things of like, people, hopefully, I mean, once you're in a group of friends that you're more comfortable with, you'll have those people who like rib you for that. Like, I know, like everyone does in a friend group. You said the word wrong, haha, right?
Yeah.
That's just a common thing.
You am big dumb and I be smart.
You caveman brain, you idiot. But
you brain smooth like pebble, me brain texture like broccoli.
Exactly. The wrinkles are just enormous. But in
canyons
in the beginning, unless in the beginning of playing with people, even if it's friends, even if it's people that you don't know, people aren't gonna be like mean to you just for the sake of it, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Boys, brain looks like a dang pecan.
My guy, your brain is wrinkled like a raisin. Oh,
smart boy.
Anyway,
there's other people around you also role-playing. You can role-play with them and bounce that energy off of them to feed your own. You don't have to sit there and just try to be awesome at every second. You can just be like, I'm going to talk to you, but as my guy. And that's role-playing. Separate yourself from your character. You are your character, yes, but you are also playing your character. Actors aren't actually their roles, and you are not actually killing a goblin. So you shouldn't think that the things you're saying are actually the things that you are saying. They're your character. If you say something stupid, that's your character. You get the opportunity to have a mask and hide behind that mask and blame all of the dumb stuff on that mask. But what if people...
It's always really spooky whenever someone plays a self-insert for like most of a game and then they do something like abjectly awful and they're like, guys, I'm not my character. And you're like,
yeah, once you start doing the abhorrent shit, that's when you're not your character.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, like, I agree with him again to an extent. Personally, I like to get into my characters so, like, to be the character, right? Like, you're not that character, obviously, in physical, like, stuff, unless you're playing a self-insert, I guess. In physicality or anything, you could, in fact, be in physicality or all that kind of stuff, but what I'm saying...
my hair is so waxy, I can pick a lock with it.
Exactly. So... But what I'm saying is just like, even though I'm not my character, I want to be that character as much as possible, right? I want to think like that character. I don't want to look at it as I'm me playing that character. I am that character in the game right now. And it's good to differentiate, of course, because I'm not Pardue, the holy man, obviously. But I am still that character in that moment. And I want to think like that character in that moment. And I don't want to think like I'm thinking right now that the character should be thinking this.
Yeah, you become like them. You start to think like them.
Yeah.
You might notice that in your like off hours when you're not playing D&D, you start randomly thinking about belts because you have a D&D character who's obsessed with them.
Exactly.
And like you notice someone wearing a belt and you hone in on it and then you're like, why am I honing in on this? And then you're like, oh.
And I've said this before, and again, I don't have the source, and I don't have perfect like, I'm not entirely sure if this is entirely accurate, but I heard once, and this can be fact-checked, that people that tell stories of D&D experiences in their party are using the centers of their brain that are used to create memories, like as if they were living them themselves.
I have heard that as well, but I think it was from you.
Yes, I think I had said this once before. So it kind of becomes that whole thing of like, you are you, yes, but you are also this other person who lived this entire fantasy life of just going through and doing heroic shit or depraved shit or whatever you did in your campaign. Whatever it was cool, and you're still like looking back at it as if you were that person. Yeah. So kind of definitely separating yourself from a character and how they feel is important, so that you're not going, well, Jimbo over here hates me, and man, the Chad who plays him, he must hate me, right? But that's not the case. Shouldn't be the case. I hope it's not the case. It could be the case, I guess, but it shouldn't be.
But hopefully it's not.
Exactly. Yes. So like, it's good to go. In character stuff is a different beef than out of character stuff. Definitely.
And it's just like, I know some people who if you do something to screw over their character, they'll get like mad at you in person. Yeah. The druid was one of those people.
Yeah.
He'd get pouty for like a week.
Yep.
And it's like, well, dude, it's, you know, Chris isn't Torque, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You're not fucking, how did I? Oh, you're not Gurman, dude. I really hope you're not playing a self-insert, because oh boy.
Exactly.
I'm learning things about you.
But yeah, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
People don't like my character. Sure, that can happen, but like I said before, this isn't a competition. Are you trying to make the most likable person ever? Or are you playing a game where you're gonna have fun being in an imaginary world with your friends? It doesn't matter if you say something dumb. It's make-believe anyways. Everyone around you wants to have fun, and everybody is also doing what you're doing. If you need help, ask someone else. D&D is a cooperative game. Even the Dungeon Master is there to make sure you have fun. If you're confused, ask. If you're tired, tell someone. If you're having a hard time coming up with something to say, vocalize it. Likely, other people are going to be happy that you mentioned the thing that they were thinking about. And 9 times out of 10, if you vocalize, I have no idea what to say, everybody else is going to be like, oh yeah, it's cool, it's fine. Or, yeah, do something comfortable, it's whatever you want to do. Many players I know are very willing to make sure that the newer players who are a bit more nervous feel comfortable when they play. Because it's a game, and we all want to enjoy the experience. It's completely normal to be anxious when you're put on the spot. And if you are anxious, just vocalize it. Nobody's going to try to put you through a rough time just for a game. And if they do, then they're wrong. So, what do...
Agreed. Fucking dickheads.
I do love the fact that he does have the disclaimer of like, yeah, there will be like a minority of people that do this, like 5% of players, maybe, maybe less, probably like 3%.
I would hope so.
But like, if they do that, they should shut the fuck up.
Yeah, they should probably maybe like get kicked out of the group. I don't know.
They should leave, or they could have. Or they could, pay their debt to society, have their hands cut off.
Right, yes.
And stop being a dick, and then stay with the table.
Yeah, there you go.
Does your character say? It is perfectly okay to say, I don't really know. I'm not really sure what to say here. Maybe somebody else could chime in. You will not ruin the game, and you most certainly won't ruin everybody else's fun. In fact, you'll make the game more fun because you're allowing other people to step in, and you're letting them know your boundaries. Be open, have fun, and don't overthink this. If you've got a good group of people who are supportive, then you're gonna have a fun time with this game. And if you don't, then maybe you should encourage them to be more supportive. It goes both ways. Big shout out to Stibble's Codex.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good little
10 out of 10, Jacob.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah. It's an excellent video.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some people who play games like D&D where they instead of role playing like entirely, they kind of they say what their character says, right? Like they go I'm going to say this like this with the intention of being diplomatic, right?
Mm.
Or say, you know, my character goes up and would like to intimidate just by being like this. Like you can role play it without having to do a voice, or really having the character talk every time, right? That is definitely, you could play a completely mute character. That'd be neat, right? Just find out different ways to communicate things. Maybe have a kind of system that's already been set in place with another character so that you have somebody who can interpret if need be. It might be beneficial for somebody who doesn't really do the voices and doesn't feel comfortable doing like a voice or talking that much, right? And it's a good start, but I would say definitely try to get out of your comfort zone with D&D because it's a lot of fun when you just start goofing off with your friends.
The deep end of the pool can be scary at first, but you'll never learn how to swim in the deep part of the pool unless you swim in the deep part of the pool.
Exactly.
Don't drown.
Well, you have friends to help keep you from doing that in this analogy.
Yes, that is
your friends are your water wings.
I need my water wings. Okay. Well, that went really quick.
I'm the pool noodle.
Yeah.
No, the druid is the pool noodle.
The druid is like the inflatable like snake.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, I get you. That went really quickly, and I think we'll just continue right on.
Yeah. When you're not pausing every 3 seconds to tear apart a video.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't take that long.
And hey, you know what? He got to his point in 6 minutes.
I know. It's like a good, like succinct, fucking good video. I like it. Goddamn. But yes. So we're gonna move on to a video that I found while I was on the web. This is a girl. Yeah. This is Ginny. I know, right? Not a beardy boy. At all. This is Ginny D. I have never heard of her before this. And she apparently does stuff that has to do with D&D. And I started watching this and I was like, oh, this is fine.
I know of her because when I was on the Wormwood Kickstarter, frankly spending way too much money on some obsidian dice. I happened to cross the wait, no, hold on. Yeah, I designed my own dice at the bottom. Yeah, she has like a turquoise set that Wormwood is making for her with a special like turquoise and Wenge inlaid dice box, which I got a super actually compliment her sense of style on that because my Lovecraft dice box is Wenge with inlaid turquoise.
Nice. Yeah.
I could be pronouncing that wrong. It looks like Wenge, but I heard from someone it's pronounced Wenge. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. I've never heard that before.
Wenge
but yeah,
all the time.
She put this out a week ago. And that's just kind of how I found it, I guess. Just doing the thing a week ago to look for new videos. And this is called The 5 Hardest Things About Tabletop Role-Playing. And I figured...
Side note, she does a very good Jester cosplay.
Yeah, so that's like her profile picture and everything on her channel, nice. So... yeah, she does music apparently and cosplay.
Oh, yes. I've seen yeah, I saw the lollipop one there on the lower right. I've watched that one.
I don't know what you're referring to. Lollipop one.
Yeah, Jesters, a Critical Role parody music video.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. You're seeing the recommended stuff, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that right now. It's not pulled up for me. I got you. Let me look.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That was really well done.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I watched this and I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. Got some stuff that is more for you as a person, which is fine. As long as you know, don't generalize when it's something that only you really know that you experience. But it could be that other people do too, and that's how you relate. Hey. Anyway, let's begin.
Hey friends, I'm Jenny D, and today I want to talk about D&D. What a surprise. I was chatting with some people on Twitter about D&D videos, and one of the things that came up a few different times actually was that even though receiving expert advice from experienced D&D players and experienced DMs is obviously really helpful and valuable, it's also nice sometimes to be able to hear from beginners and people who are still kind of finding their way so that we don't hold ourselves to these unrealistic standards as players or as DMs. I've been playing D&D for a little over a year now, and I still feel like I run into new obstacles all the time, as a player too, not just as a DM. One of the things that makes D&D so unique is that it's a really long-term, really involved game. I mean, you can play a D&D campaign for literal years, which is a huge contrast to something like a board game that you can play in a few hours or a video game that you can play in a few weeks. But that's also one of the things that makes it so hard. It's complicated, it has complicated rules, you have to be really focused during long gameplay sessions, and you're playing with a group, so there might also be interpersonal challenges. And if you, like me, discovered D&D by watching really experienced people play the game really well on live streams or on podcasts, you might not be prepared for the things that you'll struggle with when you play. So I thought today I would talk about some of the things that have been challenging for me as a player so far. But first...
Okay, yeah. So, but first, I think this is the sponsorship.
Yeah.
But, before getting past that, the one thing that I kind of, like, focus, right? Being focused, in a long session, there's different levels of that, I would think.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to be, like, hyper-focused all the time. You can be kind of lax. Considering you're with a group of people that are in your party, some people will pick up things more often than other people, right? In certain respects.
More often than not, you'll probably have a party scribe who's busy scribbling away.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully everyone's taking some sort of notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the hope. But if not that, then you'll have one person who is taking all of the notes. But again, if you have a bunch of people,
a mix of the two.
Yeah, exactly.
Where a bunch of people all have their own notes, and then you have the scribe with like the master copy.
Yes, exactly. But in that case, then you have all of these different perspectives who are actually going to find things that you missed, which is very helpful. So I don't think you have to be super like vigilant, but you definitely should pay attention.
I mean, part of being in like a D&D session for 3, 4, 5 hours is similar to like if you've ever had like upper level college courses that last 3, 4, or 5 hours. Is there's a certain like fine skill of knowing when you can sort of let your mind wander versus like knowing when something was said that you need to like reel it back in for.
Yep. Yep. Definitely.
It's like driving for long hours too.
Yeah, basically.
Let's talk about something that is challenging for DMs, which is maps. Putting together one or...
yeah, okay. So this is a map thing. I don't remember what it is. Oh, I think it's out-of-the-box encounters, maybe? No, it's Castles and Keeps. There you go. Different one. So yeah, if you're interested in Castles and Keeps, hey, go look at that on your own time. You're not sponsored. Okay. But I mean, hey, Castles and Keeps.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, our sponsor for this week is Honey. Honey is a wonderful program that allows you to save up to 10%.
to your regularly scheduled content about stuff I'm bad at. Let's do a numbered list. The internet loves those. Here are the 5 hardest things about tabletop roleplay for me. Only knowing what your character knows. So when you're playing D&D, you are supposed to know only the things that your character would know, not the things that you as a player know. So for example, if somebody else at the table is doing something that your character wouldn't know about, but you as a player, you're sitting at the same table with them, so obviously you know. But if you make your character's decisions based on what you as a player know, but they wouldn't know, that's considered metagaming. It's bad form. This sounds like one of those things that's kind of obvious. Like you hear about it and you're like, oh yeah, of course, my character would only know the things that my character would know. But when you're actually playing, it can be really hard not to make decisions based on things that you know. I mean, just last week, my warlock Aisling left her familiar Nightshade behind to watch for something, to watch for a creature that was following them. But they ended up walking for like 5 full minutes before Nightshade saw anything, by which point they were well out of the 100-foot telepathic range that she has with her familiar. But she hadn't told Nightshade, oh, come back to us when you see something. She had told Nightshade, watch to see if you see something. So if Aisling had called Nightshade back immediately after Nightshade saw something, that would have been metagaming, because Aisling wouldn't know that Nightshade had seen something. So instead, I had to be like, well, I guess she waits like 10 or 15 minutes before she calls her back, by which point the creature had already caught up to them and was already attacking them. So any benefit they would have gained from knowing about the creature completely disappeared because I didn't want to metagame. Most of the time, I think people don't want to metagame. They're not actively trying to like cheat at D&D. I think it's just very, very...
Okay, so I have a couple of things about this. First off, differentiating player knowledge and character knowledge can be difficult, yes. Having started out before, like way before, and like having to get into that mindset was a little challenging. It's definitely become easier the more that I've played. In fact, I will catch myself during games going, oh wait, I wouldn't know that, fuck. Right. And then just kind of not do whatever it was I was going to do. The other thing that I wanted to note about knowledge is the difference between your life experience knowledge and the character's life experience knowledge. Mm-hmm. That is something that is kind of it's hard to keep track of because of, well, it's not, so it can be hard to keep track of.
Yeah, it can be hard or easy to keep track of based on like what it is. Like,
exactly.
Knowing that trolls are weak to fire, your character may not know that.
Yes.
But if your character is an alchemist and your profession of choice happens to be chemistry, then like it's not too much of a stretch to know like, oh, my character probably knows that sulfuric acid in someone's eyes is bad.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. You also have to take into account the world setting, right? You have to take into account the level of knowledge that the world has of certain things.
Are there fairy tales about trolls being set on fire?
Yes, exactly. Like if you make, like, I remember when I was DMing for my group before the whole quarantine thing started, my group would kind of give me arguments of how they would know certain things because of what their characters kind of had gone through in their backgrounds, right? Or how they would have grown up in a society that they had grown up in, what they had learned in that case, and because they would have learned it that way, the fact that they knew it as people, they could translate it. Like, basically think, the best way I can put it is that historians know history, and if they're playing a character that is from a certain land that is like this other kind of history, they can kind of make that argument of that land would have this kind of setting, so if they know about how they farm, right, then they should know that, I guess, is the best way that I can put it. I don't know if that's very clear, but it's one of those things of whatever you've learned in life, you can kind of apply to a character.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
It also depends on the intelligence level of the character, right? Like, because I remember one of my friends was like, so I would say that a 12 intelligence is like a university student.
Yeah.
And then higher than that is higher than that, and then that's just the levels of intelligence that people have in real life. And so if you think of it that way, then there's, reasons why you can kind of assume that they would know certain things.
Yeah.
And however, there can also be the times when you have a character with low intelligence, but given their upbringing and their style of living, they might know things that other intellectual people might not know.
Yes.
You have a barbarian that lives out in lives out in some weird remote area. He'll know more about that area and its creatures than some bookworm would.
Yes.
Or like a person who is like a peasant as a child, whose parents helped clean up rooms in like the royal suites or whatever, might know more about the workings of court politics than the slumdog bard.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of different instances where knowledge that is a player's knowledge can help with influencing how a character's knowledge can be, as long as the situation makes sense.
Yes.
For that character to.
What's really hard to know is when your character would know something that you don't.
Yes, that is difficult.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, boy.
Yeah.
Time for me to just make some vaguely worded rolls and hope the DM rolls with it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, usually the DM can correct you or, put you on the right path if need be. The other thing that I wanted to point out is Nightshade and Ashlyn. I don't remember what Nightshade is as like the familiar. I know it's the familiar.
The familiar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna criticize a little bit of the what happened there. Does Nightshade not know what they're trying to like look for? Would Nightshade not have the intelligence to go, I'm looking for a thing, I saw the thing, I should tell my master?
The telepathic link.
I know about out of the range of the
But
telepathic
at this point,
link.
the telepathic link would be broken, and so
Yeah,
I think they would know
fine.
that.
Yeah, my question would be, why doesn't Nightshade or Ashlyn both know that, like, oh, hey, if I get too far away, like, from me to that tree over there, I can no longer read your mind.
There's that, and then I would say that the familiar has at least enough intelligence to move back as soon as seeing something in order to let them know, and it's not something that needs to be expressly stated.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it is still a living thing with its own mind. It's not just...
It has self-preservation.
It's not a robot with zero intelligence.
Exactly. It has self-preservation, and so I feel like, hey, look for these things means, hey, these things are coming for us. Maybe you should let me know.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, it also depends on how the creature would interpret, because I don't know what the creature is, right?
Yeah.
If it's like a raven, it's intelligent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a pseudo-dragon, it's pretty fucking intelligent. If it's and a fucking quasit, it's pretty intelligent, right? Like, there's many things that could have
because
a moment.
I don't think many warlocks would get a familiar that's, like, retarded.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would be fun.
It would be kind of funny, and I would enjoy it, but it's one of those things where I question it a little bit, just because I feel like that situation could have been argued against.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But, I mean, it's not my game, whatever.
Very hard to separate what you're thinking from what your character would be thinking, because you're playing your character. It's inextricably tied. I think DMs can help with that too in a couple different ways. I have 2 different players who I know watch Critical Role, so sometimes if they are going up against a monster that I know has appeared in Critical Role, I will reskin it visually or rename it or tweak some of its attacks or its weaknesses to make sure that they can't like even unknowingly metagame, knowing how to fight that monster most effectively. Staying focused. This one is hard for a number of reasons, not least of which is that I have ADHD. This is one of those things that I think it's very frustrating when your fellow players are not focused and you are, so you don't ever want to be the problem player who's not focused. Like if I look over and one of my players is like checking Twitter on their phone, it's very frustrating for me as a DM, and it makes me feel bad, like I'm not doing a good job keeping players engaged. And then as a player, if it's
so yeah, that is actually an important thing to note. It's one of those things of it sucks, fucking feels bad, man, when you see your players that are on the phone or just like looking away and just doing something else and just don't look like they're paying attention. It sucks for me just because it just makes me feel like she said, I'm not doing a good job and like not captivating them, right? Like whatever's happening, but it does depend on the situation as well.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
If they're not paying attention because it's not their scene and they're nowhere near it, that's fine. It's just one of those things of they have to be paying attention enough to when I come back to them, they're not going, huh, what? Right? Like
Yeah. Like I had a couple of my players a few sessions back. I started on like 2 players wanted to go on a shopping trip, so I was like, all right, these tend to go a bit long. And I finished up with them, and 2 of my other players had set up lures in Pokemon Go. And they're just kind of like sitting there idly doing it, and they were maybe like 5 minutes into the lure. And I was like, so what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh.
Yeah, don't be like that then.
Don't
Come
do
on.
that.
That's you're committing time to like that's something that's very important that everyone should realize is that D&D is something where you are committing time. Whether like the DM is committing time to creating this kind of setting, whatever the story is, whatever they're doing, they are giving you their time, and that is so valuable. Like I will never get time back. So if I invest all of this time, I hope that you're going to pay attention enough to enjoy it with me.
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise, like, why did I put all this time in?
Yeah.
Same goes for being on your phone in classes.
Yes,
the teacher put in time to prepare that lecture.
Exactly.
At least the teacher is still getting paid.
It's true.
There is that.
They're still getting their compensation, whereas in this, time and paying attention is the only compensation that you get.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they're getting paid for their time lecturing. They're not getting paid for the time that they spend at home referencing notes, putting together slideshows.
It's true.
So,
but DMs aren't getting paid to construct their worlds and build characters and motivations and backstories, or actually running the game itself.
Usually, though, they aren't. But I would also say that technically the teachers are getting paid to do that because that's their job.
Yeah, that's the only upside to that situation. Is that
they have
it's their job and they're getting paid for it.
Yeah, they kind of have to do that in order to continue to work to get paid.
Yeah, right? Regardless of who fails the class because they're not paying attention.
Yeah,
they'll get paid regardless.
Yeah, and if they're not doing that, then they're probably gonna get fired. Because
unless of tenure.
Unless tenure, in which case they just don't have to do shit. And they're just paid, right? But if they're actually dedicated to it, they'll actually do the job. But yes.
Yes, so. But still, don't be on your phones in class.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, don't.
Like, this is the kind of thing where, like, every time I hear something about that, I'm like, man, I just want to be like, okay, we're playing D&D, no phones, give me your phones.
Yeah,
give me your phones and I'm tying them up in a bag.
So
yeah, I wouldn't take someone's.
No,
I know, but
so
God,
that's
I want to.
I was tempted to at that point and just go like, or when the druid was on Tinder.
Oh Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But like,
or at the very least, like, if you won't let me take your phone and like put it in a bag on the table so you can't get it. Like, just turn it off.
I have taken the druid's phone once.
Yeah.
And I just like took it, put it on the screen, put it behind the screen, and then he was more attentive for the rest of the session.
Exactly.
Well, so the library also has a children's kind of D&D group, younger kids at least. And so there was, and one of my friends DMs for that. And so he was talking about it, and he was like, yeah, the kids are kind of like rowdy, and like sometimes they're just on their phones and stuff. And I'm getting to this point where I'm thinking I might want to start just taking the phones away. And we were like, no, don't do that. That does not help the situation. That'll make it more of a kind of an animosity kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's more adversarial.
Yeah, more adversarial, and it's not going to help you at all. Because they're just going to be thinking about the phone the whole time, all that kind of shit. Like, it's just not a good thing to do.
And then you'll have some fucking Karen say, why is this stranger taking away my child's phone?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think, obviously for adults, you know, having that kind of verbal agreement of, we're going to play the game, pay attention, and if you're on your phone, like, you're not being cool, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Right? Like, they'll just have whatever punishment in-game happens to them. Like, it's just like, oh, you're on your phone? Okay, so we're gonna go back over here then. Right? Like, it's not, like, just, if they're not gonna be attentive, then don't be attentive to them.
Yeah.
Well, I also feel that could cause a vicious cycle. Because they're gonna feel, oh, if the DM isn't being attentive to me, then why am I being attentive to the game?
Well, they started it.
Most people do not have that sort of introspection, dude.
I know. So that's the thing. It's one of those things of, you hope that you have people who are intelligent enough to be that way, right?
Yeah.
Because
but barring having smart players,
if you don't have people that are going to give you that kind of respect, then just kick them out.
Yeah.
Like, don't play with those people. I don't know.
Because you're running a game for someone. If they're not there, if they're not going to actually participate, then why are they even coming?
Yeah, why are you running the game for them?
Yeah.
It might be a vicious cycle, but man, you gotta try something, and if it just keeps getting bad, then, I mean, you gotta talk to them, and
you have to do something.
Figure it out, you know? And
you can't just hope that it fixes itself.
Exactly.
Because you're not punishing. Like, the thing is, by not doing anything, you're rewarding their laziness. Because if they're looking at their phone and you go back to them and they're like, oh shit, here, let me put my phone away. Okay, I do this, and then something else happens, I get back on their phone. And then you go back to them, oh, hey, what do you do? And then you just keep going. You never punish them, and so then they never feel any need to change.
Yeah. You just need to basically, if you just bring it up, I feel like the entire table will be like, yeah, dude, come on. And they'll be able to learn from that.
Yeah. That was typically what tended to happen was I remember two things. The first was the paladin in particular, because he sat next to the druid. Was like, yeah, fucking Bradley on his phone again. And I remember I told him one time, I'm like, dude, you don't need to be on Tinder. The hoes aren't going anywhere.
Yeah. There will always be thoughts.
They've been around in the location for 20 some odd years. They're not gonna be leaving anytime soon.
Right.
What's your character doing?
Yeah,
exactly. Anyway, let's keep going here.
Like somebody else's turn in combat and they didn't prepare and they weren't thinking about it, and you already know what you're gonna do. You're like, come on, man, stay on top of it. I've been playing online lately because of quarantine.
Okay, that's actually important. The having your turn prepared in advance is good. I don't deny that. What I will say is that sometimes the situation changes, and you have to rethink of what you were doing.
Yeah.
You might have had a plan beforehand, but you could also, after what somebody else does, have to then change what you have to do. Right?
Pray I don't alter it any further.
So it's one of those things of, again, that's situational. Like, yes, you might have your turn planned, and you might be going, come on, but you gotta also think, like, if the person had this idea, then if they're going to commit to that idea regardless of the fact, and it just, maybe the thing is dead, right? And then they're like, oh, fuck, okay, well, I was gonna use this on that person, but it would do a lot, like, a little bit of damage, and I'd rather do a lot of damage to something else that hasn't been hit that much yet.
But
so
that's metagaming.
Well, no, it's not.
I know, just fucking, I'm just
like,
fucking around.
I know. I'm just like, if anybody, no, it's literally just like that thing you've seen in combat. It hasn't been hit.
But what if it got hit like 3 weeks ago and it's still kind of bruised or something?
That's metagaming. Fuck you. Right? Like, yeah. So it's good to be prepared, but it's also good to be situationally aware.
And I've been finding that it's even harder to stay focused online than it is in person at a table. Sitting at my computer means that, like, everything distractible about the internet is right at my fingertips. I've also found that once you lose focus, it becomes even harder to regain it, and D&D is only really fun when you're focused. It's not really a game you can play with half of your attention. For me, especially online, I think the key to keeping focus is just, like, not letting myself get distracted in the first place. Like, don't even open a social media website for any reason. I also do this thing sometimes where I will intentionally distract myself with something that's only a little bit distracting to prevent me from getting distracted with something that's more distracting. For instance, when I was working on Thumbelina and I was sewing all of those flowers onto her skirt, I was doing that during D&D. Like, I was hand sewing flowers during D&D, because that's one of those things that it distracts me enough that I'm not going to do something else, but sewing flowers isn't going to stop me from, like, knowing what's going on in combat, because it only uses my hands, not really my brain. Remembering...
Yeah, totally fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do something incredibly easy, but also monotonous.
Unfortunately, I engross myself in things like that sometimes. So.
It's typically why I'll, like, pick locks during either the podcast or Devils and Dice. Check out our Devils and Dice campaign.
You were fucking picking locks during my campaign? You fuck!
Yeah,
Jesus Christ!
Gives me something to do with my hands.
Yeah, like,
It keeps them away from my phone.
Oh, you want something to do with your hands? Fucking roll your d20, see how much damage you take, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, no, I have found myself rocking back and forth a lot more. I've found myself, like, playing
drumming your feet.
Yep, playing with pencils or pens. Like, it's just little things that I do unconsciously, I guess. Subconsciously, more so, I guess. I don't know.
When I'm a DM, what I do is I lose pencils. That's what I do with my hands.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm doing something else at the same time.
And the thing that I constantly do is I don't riffle them together, but I shuffle cards.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have a deck of cards in my DM supplies.
Yep.
I'm just, like, constantly, like, slicing them together, basically.
Yeah.
Rogan does the same.
True, yeah. And yeah, like, online D&D is a little, it's been different, with, like, the people that I've been playing with in person. I can tell, I can feel it. It's so different for them. And I'm over here playing with you guys because we do stuff online all the time, and it's just natural, right?
Because that's just how it's always been with us.
It's how it's always been. And so, like, having...
Not always.
Well, not always for...
It's how we've always played with Boo.
Yeah, exactly. And so... But it's more natural for us, really. Like, I feel like our friend group is just more naturally able to do this and kind of, like, you know, keep doing online stuff.
I've had my party ask me to do my campaign online during the quarantine, and they're like, "We could do it on Discord," and I'm like, "I don't want to do our campaign on Discord."
Yeah, exactly. I have my friends were just like, "Yeah, we should do your campaign." And one, I'm burned out as fuck. Like, at this point, I DM'd too much to go, like, I want to DM right now.
Yeah.
But
that's what I'm taking the quarantine as, is like recharging the creative batteries, because for the first time now in like a year, I'm randomly getting ideas for like cool little campaign arcs and treats and baddies. That just pop into my head naturally, like unsummoned. Whereas before I'm having to like sit down and think at my desk, pen and paper in hand, and then just start like writing out ideas until I get one, and then like modify it with other ideas I've made, and then I'm like, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, and like I'm noticing with my Wednesday group, people that would talk more just because we were in person talk way less online. Which I mean,
strange.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but I guess I understand it. It's a little harder to talk to other people that aren't face to face.
Yeah.
Like
I've typically, if there's something that, even if it can be solved very quickly in an email, I still prefer to meet in person with people.
Yes.
Simply because so much of the way that I talk is like nonverbal,
Yeah.
like non-verbally giving context.
Yep.
And I'm very like emotive when I speak, especially like with my face and arms. And as such, someone's like, "Oh, yeah, you can drop in whenever and like do this." It's so much more preferable to being on email, and the worst is on like phone interviews.
Oh,
God, is that a thing?
hate being on the phone
Yeah.
for. Oh God. Talking on the
Ugh.
phone is just bad. I just don't like it at all.
Yeah.
It's either you do text thing or we do Discord or something, but like phone quality is just something I've never been able to like get past. Like
Yeah, I cannot understand people on the phone.
Exactly, dude. And like people can't understand me sometimes, and like they just don't know like if I'm me sometimes. Like
Yeah.
it's so weird. The phone, like you would think that they would improve that somehow, but no, it's just been the same. I don't
Yeah.
know.
The tier list is far and away in first place, talking to someone in person.
Yeah.
Secondly is email, and then distant third is
Over
phone.
the phone.
Well, what about like a video conference?
That's fine. I
Yeah.
treat that just about the same as in person,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I can see their face.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That you're not the main character.
Mm.
And the thing is,
Yes.
like, part of D&D is you're all the main character, but it's also partially that none of you are the main character. It's
Yeah.
really important to not sort of hog the spotlight and try and make the game or the story all about you, but at the same time, you want to be engaged and you want to be involved in the story. Like, I don't necessarily want to play with somebody who is just gonna take their turn in combat and, like, respond to questions that are directed at them and otherwise do nothing. I used to write, I spent all the way to the end of college believing that I wanted to be a novelist and that was my main goal, so it's really hard to not play Aisling like the protagonist of a novel, because that's the kind of storytelling that I'm really used to doing. Good team playing, role playing is something where I know it when I see it. Like, I could watch Critical Role and be like, wow, Sam Riegel is really, really good at playing his character in a way that helps others play their characters. But just because I see it happening doesn't mean I know how to do it. That's a skill that I would really like to build, because I want to be
Travis.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're all, because they've been doing it for so long now. They're all really good at it for everyone.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's super important to be like including other people in D&D. Like,
I actually take that back. The best person at it is Molly / Caduceus.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. So, and we've talked about this before. Fucking nobody's the main character and everybody's the main character. It just depends on the scene. And just being able to get people to have that kind of space, and allowing them to have that space, right?
One of the things that I always found to be kind of awkward whenever I was like, if we ever, I don't remember when we did this, but I think there was either a one shot or something that was started as a one shot and then tried to become something else. I don't remember.
Okay.
But I was making a character, and I think it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what his name was, but he was a ranger, and his whole deal was that he was an adventurer because he and his brother owned like a potion shop.
Okay.
And my character's wife died due to a hereditary illness, and my daughter had inherited that illness.
Oh.
And so she was sick at home in the potion shop, and my brother, her uncle, would like administer medicine to her.
Right.
And so they had like a constant supply of medicine to basically keep her stable, but she would never make a full recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And so my whole motivation for adventuring was to go out and find this one rare plant that grew deep in the dark, and it grew like in deep dungeons and like old ruined castles and stuff. It's something that grew up from the underdark, and its roots extended upward. And it grew up into caves. And so that was like a 2-paragraph or maybe even 3-paragraph backstory. And then the other players had like a sentence, and I'm like, I kind of unintentionally made myself the main character here by having like the only really interesting character here.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes that happens where I'm like, and that I didn't intend that. I was just like, oh, this sounds like kind of a cool character. I have a reason for being. I have like a home I can return to. And I already have some people that I can talk to that gives the DM some flavor. It gives me my reason to adventure, and it gives the DM something to help him plan stuff.
Right.
And so I come up with all these things thinking about the DM and like the other, like the actual world around my character. And then some people make their characters with just like 1 or 2 sentences as like, he's a barbarian. He likes his axes, and he doesn't afraid of anything, And then I'm like, I didn't really need to make my character way more interesting than yours. No offense.
Like your group could have used a session 0.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that I would say is like, there's definitely a thing where you could start out being the main quest, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And then other people bond with your character, and you bond with them, and you can then start helping them as well, with their kinds of things.
Yeah. As they flesh out their characters.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of those things of where even if you have a very minor backstory, you can flesh it out as you play.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
hell, that's kind of what you guys are doing in our current campaign.
Yes, absolutely.
Where Boris, you don't have too much of a background, but I do know it, and it is changing ever so slightly. And I know Mez's thing is he was a gambler, and he knows he is involved or was involved slightly with the Sanguine Retreat.
And that's why he looks at it and goes, "Hey, we'll do that thing someday."
Yeah, we'll be back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff that's unsaid just because I find it much easier for me to like in the moment make things up, I guess, more so, and like have that be kind of how it goes. And if it doesn't like make sense in the current, I'm willing to change things, obviously. Like if it doesn't entirely fit, I'm willing to just go, okay, so it's a little bit more like this then.
Well, like a bunch of Critical Role's characters too. In their second campaign, when they first made those characters, did not have hugely fleshed out backstories. In particular, Caleb and Ford. Ford, who had probably a good like 30 episodes devoted to his backstory and growing in power. Started off as no more than a sailor who got flung overboard during a ship storm. And then it became this whole tale of like betrayal and revenge and stuff like that. And Caleb, who's spoilers for like episode 25, I think, of this over a year old series, who killed his parents. Was literally just a hobo wizard.
He just started as a hobo wizard. And he was I remember he had the whole being in an insane asylum.
That's cool.
I think that was part of it still. And then the shared backstory with Not. And that was it. That was it. And they didn't even think about, they like didn't even like talk to each other about how their backstories were and all that shit, and it just kind of ended up being what it is. And like I know because I watched a lot of like the talks Machina, which is their talk show where they discuss the episodes. They would even say like they would just be writing things and giving them to Matt, and then like he would put his things in there and they would change it, and like the backstory would just keep being written as they were playing week after week.
It was very fluid.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And that's why I'm fine personally with if a player, I request every player and I'll sit down and I'll work with every player.
Yep.
Every player shows up to session 0 ideally, but definitely by session 1 with a baseline backstory of why they're an adventurer and what their main goal is.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we want to develop family members and lineages and the ways that their family made money and their relationships with family members and stuff like that later on down the line, totally fine. I can incorporate that into my campaign.
Yep.
I only request that you have a baseline reason for why you left home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's what I did with my second character for the Wednesday campaigns that I do. Where like having Yulon die and then going, okay, I gotta make a new character. I went and just kind of messaged back and forth with my DM basic things, and then I was like starting to ask questions about like the world itself and like where I would come from, and then we developed basically how the family and everything was just from all that kind of stuff. Whereas in the game where I introduced her, I didn't have much other than the base bit of like she ran from home because she had this magical thing that happened and they didn't like magic there. Because that was the whole like persecution just because of the magic being shadow magic. That was what I had. And so she uses that to do good because she doesn't want to be seen as evil because of it. And also trying to figure out what the fuck it is and trying to find wizards who can help her with that. And then after that, it was like the next day that I was just messaging my DM and we started figuring out like the home city and like how the structure of everything was and like why they didn't like magic there and they just don't like magic at all. Right, like it just became a thing.
Oh no, my character's Lux.
Oh really? Is that?
Yeah, Demacia hates magic and Lux is a mage, and a huge point of contention between her and Garen is the fact that she's a mage.
Cool. All right.
as is evidenced by reworked Fiddlesticks having a line when he first meets Lux saying, "Brother, please don't hate me."
That's cool. I haven't been paying attention. That's kind of
spooky, actually.
Yeah, Fiddlesticks now is really fucking spooky.
Fiddlesticks now is like, I'll show you his new trailer.
I already saw it.
Cool.
I saw it. It's cool.
I haven't looked into it. At some point I will, but I don't care right now.
But yeah, no, I haven't given a shit about League in like years. So,
but yeah. So let's keep
kind of role player that I feel like I bring out the best in everyone role-playing with me, and I just don't feel like I'm there yet. Making my character not just me with elf ears. Now, this is not to say that there's anything wrong with someone who chooses to play themselves at the table. I feel like that's a completely valid way of role-playing. If you want to play like you as a paladin or you as a warlock or whatever, then like more power to you, it's your game. But me personally, I really do want to play a character that is different from me, that is her own self. And man, that is just really hard to do. It's really hard to separate why you respond the way that you respond to things and why a different person would respond differently. So like, okay, maybe me, if I were going into some dark cave, maybe I would be really cautious and I would scout ahead and I would like look out for traps or like signs of something dangerous. That doesn't necessarily mean that Aisling would do that. Like, what about me and my life and my personality and my history has made me cautious? Like, I have anxiety. Does Aisling have anxiety? Probably not. I was like raised to be very careful and very cautious because my mom is that way. Aisling was raised by a different person than I was. So if the DM tells me that we're walking into a dark cave, my gut might tell me, okay, I look around to see if there's any signs of animals or people having been here before. But Aisling might not do that. She might not respond that way. In my mind, I feel like what's lacking and what makes that so challenging for me is that I don't feel like I have a full, complete grasp of like what has shaped Aisling into the character that she is today. With the group that I DM, every session I give them
Okay, so before we get too far, again, as you said, nothing wrong with being a self-insert for your first thing. I would say for your first thing, if you're getting started. In later ones, if you want to keep being a self-insert, I guess so. Just don't make it like obnoxious, I guess.
Yeah, as long as it's not weird or annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, hell, there are plenty of people who are like, man, this reality sucks. I wish we could be in like a fantasy reality.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And then, like, if all of a sudden, boop, we're in a fantasy reality, we'd be like, oh shit, this is super cool.
Right.
You know? There's a whole genre of anime based on it.
Exactly.
And boy, it's overplayed.
Yep. Some of it is still good, but Jesus Christ, I wish it would stop.
But yes. So that's fine to do. Don't worry about that. The other thing, and she's said it, you know, she says might and might not and all that kind of stuff. So, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have to take parts of your personality when you're making another character and incorporate them into that character. That way you have a better kind of transition so that you have some things that you're kind of familiar with.
Yeah.
And you can kind of rely on.
What I did for my first character, aside from making him borderline insane, was I took certain parts of me and sort of dialed them to 11, and other parts of me and dialed them lower to like 5 or 3. And that was how I got my first character.
Yeah, exactly.
And like,
then later on, I started taking more like archetypes and templates, and then like, oh, this person's a soldier, and let me write a 12-page backstory about how his planet was attacked. And then like as things got on, and I got more experience, I got better at I guess getting more used to characters reacting differently to things than I would. And I think that is just going to be one of the things that Ginny, in her experience role playing, given that she says she's only been playing for like a year now, and is already making D&D content, insane cosplays, and DMing, is astounding.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and honestly, she seems to be on the right track.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah, that will come with experience.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's something else that you can do when you have that feeling of disconnection between how you should play your character when it's not meant to be like you. Depending on the character's stats and like general intelligence and or wisdom level, you can give them some common sense. Because I mean, it's a well-known fact in fantasy worlds, like, oh, it's a cave. Bad things live in caves. I mean, hell, that's how it is in real life too. Bears, wolves, dangerous animals live in caves. There's cave-ins. You can get trapped. You can get lost. That's why you never go into a cave alone.
Yep.
You know, you fall down in a fucking pit and you get stuck and then you're fucking dead.
Yeah, and
but
again,
so you can very easily give your character just that knowledge. I mean, that's common knowledge for pretty much everybody, even in real life. I think in fantasy it would be even more so. It's like parents telling their kid, now, if you see a cave, don't go in. The goblins will get you, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be as simple as that. So I don't feel like that's any issue at all, really.
You can alternatively too, you can do the opposite of what she does and thinking like, oh, I need to be cautious. You can make a character that if you're typically pretty carefree about something, make them super cautious. Like, I love if like I go to the beach and there's a bunch of like wet rocks, I'll fucking hop across those things. Like like a fucking mountain goat dude. I don't care that they're wet and slick with seaweed because I have I tripped? I must have tripped at least once in my life. But like, dude, I'll fucking run along those things. I don't care.
Yep.
But you can make a character who's like, the Kraken's in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And make them like, I don't like the beach because I'm next to the ocean.
Yep.
I had a fucking joke character where I don't know why. I thought of this like in the shower one time and it just cracked me the hell up because I was imagining the scenario happening in my head where I would make a bard or someone super fucking charismatic, or I'd make like a bard or a rogue or whoever had like expertise. And this was in 5th edition.
Right.
So I would give myself, I would roll and I would like give charisma, my best fucking stat. I would be like a high elf or a half elf. I would do everything I could to get my charisma as high as I fucking could. Take persuasion, bluff, all that shit. And the character, you would meet him in like a bar or something. And then the other players would come in. It's like, hey, we could use you on our adventure. We're going to go out and fight something. I don't know. We're going to go leave town. We're going to go on an adventure. And then my character would turn around and be like, what the fuck? You're going on an adventure? That's dangerous as hell. There's wolves and bears and goblins and dragons and krakens and all this crazy shit out there. You get hurt or die. Persuasion, nat 20, they all stay in the bar forever. Adventure over. And I'm just... So I thought of that and I'm like, that would be so fucking stupid to play. Just a complete troll character, just break the whole campaign in one encounter.
You then just become the business campaign. You start a real life business, all that kind of shit, you know.
Yeah. And so it just become like Soda Dungeon.
Yeah. And so like this harkens back to player knowledge versus character knowledge. Common sense kind of overrules that a lot of the time. You could have it so your character never fucking learned these lessons. That's fine. Yeah. You know, there are so many options that you have when you make your character that you can pick and choose from. It's just whatever you feel like at the time. You know? Like, if you want to be a scumbag devil that really likes to screw over humans but is pretty fair with everybody else who's also a devil, hey.
And then also collects figurines.
Collects figurines and has a gambling addiction. Hey, let's do it, you know? But you can do whatever you want, and that's the beauty of it, really.
I mean, hell, I'm compiling a list of all the characters that I want to make right now.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely.
I've already got 4.
I'm looking at an icon in the top right corner of my screen right now that says character ideas.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
A question before we start the session that's like a character builder question. So it'll be something like, who is your character's childhood best friend? What's the last nightmare that your character had?
Jeez.
If your character existed in a modern high school setting, what kind of clique would they be in?
Yeah, that one I hate. I hate that one.
Yeah, that one fuck off. No.
If your character existed in a modern high school setting, what clique would they be a part of? Like, I get what that's for.
I've never heard of these questions.
I think these are for her only.
Yeah.
But like that one just strikes me so, because I'm just like, that would be a completely different setting, just so wildly different, unless the world that you're going to be playing in has that kind of thing going on. Right?
Yeah, it's that's like the difference between Call of Cthulhu in 1920s and playing fucking Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Hard cut for the bell for second period. Everyone's scrambling to get to class, and meanwhile, my half-orc barbarian covered with pelts and a great axe bumps into his childhood friend / faded love interest for the slice of life anime, Grognar and Samantha.
Like, I would love that as a comedy thing. I would love that, like, just to see that as a comedy thing that was made, like, to watch. Absolutely, that would be hilarious. But to
Grognar kicking down the door to his front house and running into the street with a piece of toast in his mouth.
Exactly. Like there are so many things that if you have this character like, I get it's for personality only, but you can't just take that into account. If you're gonna make a barbarian with such a personality, then you have to remember they're also a fucking barbarian, so they're jacked as shit, and like,
what clique are you in?
What team then? It's fine.
Let me tell you.
What's the clique that says only the strong survive?
Let me tell you,
and
the
clique
clique
are meant to be fodder.
The clique is already established. It's your class. Whatever class you are is what you are right now, and that, like, high school clique does not help that. No, it does not help if I'm... No, I don't understand how... If I'm a warlock who sacrifices things to his fiend patron, I don't think he's even going to school, dude.
No, he's in the occult studies. It's
oh,
fine.
You're right, yeah.
He's the kid that nails in his tests and you always get hundreds.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can do this, but I don't think it's gonna be that great for your character creation.
Yeah, like, no, that's completely unless you're making a comedy campaign where that's the setting.
If it helps whoever's out there who uses it and it helps you make your character, that's great. I'm glad for you. But I just don't see it personally help.
Not 1,000,000,000% about it.
It could help druids. They'd be in with the stoners.
Not necessarily. Like,
because they're burning plants.
Yeah, exactly, dude. You gotta save the ganja. You can't use it.
Alternatively, they'd be in with the furries.
There you go.
So
they
you have the fighters that are in with the weebs.
What?
Yeah,
okay.
While you studied calculus, I studied the blade.
Fuck off.
I was gonna say, like, they're in, like, ROTC or something. Like, jeez.
No, dude, that's the barbarians. They spend all day yelling and getting swole.
No, that is more fighter. Barbarian.
Oh, yeah, barbarians would be the football players.
Yes, thank you. All right.
Who are the rogues?
The kids that go behind the school and smoke, obviously. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah,
they're the
true.
edgy fucking behind the. It depends. Anyway.
And then the mages, the wizards, they're like the club.
They're
the heads
the
of the
AV
clubs.
club, dude.
The what?
The AV club.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like sorcerers are just the actors and stuff.
No. So the sorcerers are the student council.
Nah.
Because they're the privileged ones.
Bards do the
Bards would be actors.
The radio.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
yeah. They would be theater
there's
radio.
enough bards. There can be bards like multiple clubs of bards.
Bards are everywhere. Actually,
there can be multiple clubs.
I was gonna say they would be in every. Anyway, so again, we're doing this as a comedic kind of thing, just to find where they. But I don't know about, like, again, if it helps you, great. Good for you.
Yeah, but like it would not help me at all.
For us, we just see comedy. That's all we see.
What high school setting would you be in? It's like, hey, you there, Andronius Shadowblade.
Androgynous.
Yes, Androgynous Shadowblade. What did you do last night? My parents are dead.
Why are you at school?
I wallowed in the darkness.
Exactly.
What I call it when I go to sleep after studying.
Yeah,
exactly.
Everyone gangster till Androgynous Shadowblade says, "I've had enough," and reaches for his backpack.
Oh! Yeah! I fully pull my collar with my entire strength, ripping my shirt off.
I'm trying to think of what is a fantasy version of the name Columbine?
Oh no! All right, let's continue on. Let's just go. Let's just get
started it.
No, let's just.
Stuff like that to just kind of challenge my players to think about their characters in a different context than maybe they've been thinking about them in the game. I've been trying to do stuff like that with Ashling and ask myself those kind of questions and fill in the gaps, because as of right now, I can't pay attention. I hear you guys snickering. It keeps making me think of it. I'm just, oh god.
See, here's my thing.
Yeah.
She named her character Ashling, and that
it's Ashlyn, I think.
Oh, was it Ashlyn?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
When she says it, it sounds like Ashling, and it keeps making me think that's like Like she's talking about a monster, like a little small monster
that'd
that
be
you
cool.
find like near a volcano or something.
Yeah.
Keep thinking that.
And stuff like that to just kind of challenge my players to think about their characters in a different context than maybe they've been thinking about them in the game. I've been trying to do stuff like that with Aisling and ask myself.
Oh no, you're right. It is Aisling. It might be. It might be she's like tiefling or something, or has some kind of like heritage where that's like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, every time she says that, I can't help think of a monster.
Yeah, that's fair.
The gaps, because as of right now I just have such a loose sketch of her background, and I feel like that's handicapping my ability to play her as a whole well-rounded character. That's actually one of the reasons I want to do some videos that just kind of explore her character more deeply, not jumping from point A to point Z. I think some of this falls on the DM and some of this falls on the player, but sometimes it can be really hard not to just sort of extrapolate the end point of the encounter or the plot or the puzzle and just go there. I don't want to play the kind of game where I say, she haggles, and then I roll persuasion. I want to play the kind of game where I say, good sir, I think we both know that your problems with the local thieves guild are going to be far more expensive than the, say, 20 gold discount you could give me for me not recounting your recent behaviors to them. And then I roll persuasion. Maybe with advantage, because I had a really good point about the thieves guild. Like,
I mean, yeah, that's just good role playing.
Yeah, that's just good role playing.
That's something you like. I would say that you should strive for. Like, you don't just go, I haggle, because that's what are you doing? How do you haggle?
I can understand saying I haggle if like you're in a fucking hurry. Like, oh, we gotta leave town and we gotta like get out of here now because we have a whole session ahead of us. Just haggle, and you know. That way the campaign doesn't get bogged down in a long conversation before you leave. That's the only thing.
If it's a hurry,
yeah. If you're in a super big hurry, then yes.
There is still something to be said about low charisma players playing high charisma characters. What was it? What was the quote, Alejo? I order a drink sexily.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
My character trying to flirt with a barmaid, and I'm like, I have no idea how to do this.
Yep. Yeah, that is true. As long as you're giving a description, though, I feel like it's fine. Like, if you're giving that much of a description, like, it's not just, I haggle, right? You're saying, I order a drink sexily. Right? It's a little...
Yeah, James Bond, shaken, not stirred.
Exactly. Like,
hell yeah.
Like, if I need more of a clarification, but I know, like, in that moment, I knew you, and I was just like, yeah, okay, this is fine, right? Like, it's not gonna get that much more descriptive because why would it?
I'll order a margarita, but I'll leave her shaken and stirred.
Hey, there you go.
Nice.
So yeah, there's definitely something to be said for it, and if you're not used to role playing, then obviously that'll basically. If the DM then goes, well, how do you haggle? Then you can think about it and explain, you know, how you would haggle, or think about it, really. And if you don't have any idea, like, obviously, you know, like we were in the last video, just say, I don't know, I have no idea how to haggle, right?
Yeah, because that's kind of a lost art nowadays. You don't haggle.
It's true.
Probably things just have a set price and you buy it.
Yeah. So.
Such as the curse of retail. What was I gonna say? But yeah, there was actually something that one of my players brought up to me because he was haggling with a merchant, and he was making some good points, and then he made one point that totally countered himself.
Oh, yep.
And the merchant, of course, was not quite willing to give like a 40% discount on some really expensive clothes.
Right.
Even with a high roll and B like a plus 13 persuasion. Like, I'm like, all right, well, justify this. Why should I give you a discount? And there's like some back and forth after a while, and he kind of like, after he did that, like messed up and like countered his own point. The merchant, I'm like, yeah, the merchant like raises an eyebrow when you say that, and he's like, oh, what's the point of playing a high charisma character when I'm a low charisma player? And I'm like, that's fine, but like it will be the numbers at the end of this that will be modified by like the role play. However, like you've still got to engage on both ends.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't win D&D. It's not about rushing to the end point. For me, it's about the journey. It's about the story, not the ending. So I don't want to play the kind of game where I just jump to the ending of every single thing. I want to play the story. I want to play the journey. So those are the things that I have found challenging.
So, in counter to that, I would say, isn't you getting through something kind of easier, giving you more of a reputation? Does that not promote you as a person who the team can rely on for these kinds of things?
I think what she was getting at there was like in the jumping through things. I think she was alluding to the fact that she would say, I haggle, instead of saying
I know.
how she haggles.
And like beforehand, she had said like the roleplay scenarios and the puzzles and all that kind of stuff. What I'm saying is, if you can make it so that you don't do that. And you can still do it in such a way that makes it quick, right?
Yeah.
Like I was in a session and we were going through a bit of a dungeon and we got to a trap, and the trap made us enclosed on walls, like we were in a tunnel basically, and 2 walls came up or down, and there was it just like we pushed on the walls, we started punching the walls, we started digging through the walls. There was no way to get through them because there was a wall of force on the other side.
Oh, okay.
And we were just like, okay, this is weird. And so we started looking around, and somebody found the there was an inscription that was like something about facing the way that you came and, you know, going the way. And I was immediately like, oh, okay. And so I just had my character look at the wall that we came from and then start walking backwards, and he walked through.
Yep.
Like, it was just one of those things of like, it's not necessarily that I jumped through it, I just understood.
You just understood and did it quickly.
Yeah, I understood the riddle immediately, and just it took us maybe a few minutes just to find that, right? Because you know, people were trying other things, and then it was just like, okay, we've gone out of options here. And then as soon as I heard it, I was just like, let's do it. And then I just did it, and everybody did it too. And it was just like, oh, cool, we got through.
Yeah,
neat. Right? It didn't go. It wasn't like me jumping to the end of the puzzle just because I knew how to do it. It was just because I knew how to do it, and that was the only way to get through the puzzle.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like most puzzles usually, well, I won't say that. Puzzles in D&D tend to usually have one solution.
Potentially.
Like one solution, but multiple ways to go to get through it.
Oh,
usually.
yeah, fair.
So far about tabletop roleplay, I would love to hear what you have found.
That's everything there. Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you, Ginny D, and that was a good video.
Yeah,
I was quite happy about it.
You're on the right track is all I can say.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely, experience is not something that you can get quickly. So just keep playing, basically.
Like, even if you're struggling with some of these things, it's very natural for all people new to D&D to struggle with these same issues. The only gripe I would have is, I don't know if I'd quite title this video the 5 hardest things about tabletop role-playing.
Yeah.
Because what's going to be hardest is going to vary for each person.
Yeah. Like, the things I find hardest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Better.
But yeah, no, like, good video.
Yeah, like in the video itself, she did say that these are the things for her, so that's good at least. But I would say, like, using the titling for me would be better.
But
it's that one's a minor point because you're not it's not clickbait. You're not like, you know.
It clearly it didn't feel like it was intended that way.
Exactly.
Because if it was intended to be clickbait, there would be a couple of words in the title would be fully capitalized.
Yeah, exactly.
And there would be
signs.
Yeah, and then there would be a thumbnail of some variety.
All right, let's take our intermission there because I've been to for a while now, and we will be back with more stuff.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. we are going to be doing another shorter kind of video for the end here because we unfortunately are going to be losing Aiden if we take too long. Well, not losing, but you have other things.
He's got
real
shit
life.
to do.
I'm dying of a mortal illness.
Yep.
Please support me on Patreon.
So
And
this one,
the address for that Patreon is 1-800-SHADOW-LEGENDS.
I hate you. All right, so this is a video from 2017. This actually has our good friend, the boy.
Hello,
Matt Mercer.
Oh. Hello, Matt. I know you personally.
Yes.
Just like all of us do.
Just like all of us.
Yes. My good friend Matt, it is so good to see you again.
Yeah, I just saw you yesterday.
Remember last Thursday? Ha 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 ha
ha.
That was so cool when your character did that thing in that town to that person.
And then I responded with the perfect one up. Ha 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 ha.
You had to be there. You had to be
there.
Man. I pity the people that were not there to witness the totally epic gamer moment that we had.
Oh god, it's getting worse.
Memories.
Okay.
Memories.
So yeah, this video isn't very long, but it was back when Critical Role was a part of Geek and Sundry, and Matt was a part of Geek and Sundry-ish, and this is role playing against type in D&D. DM tips with Matt Mercer. Let us begin.
I don't know what Matt has left to teach me. But
Hello, my name is Matthew Mercer. I'm a voice actor and the Dungeon Master for Critical Role here at Geek and Sundry. And today's episode of GM Tips is actually more for the players this time, as this discussion revolves around the creation and role-playing of characters that are radically different from your expectations of the genre tropes you know. Here are some thoughts on role-playing against type. Now, there are many tropes in genre stories and games, and they largely come from a place of appreciation and rationality. A charismatic bard will usually be full of smiles and song. A well-learned magic user might likely end up haughty and prone to mage-splaining. A ranger who wants...
God damn it! Do we have to...
Mage-splaining. Oh my god. Alright.
Oh, I love it and I hate it.
Props to whoever wrote that. Okay.
Yeah, right?
There we go.
Wanders the wilderness alone is probably going to be socially brusque and dark of mood. Or a dark elf with twin scimitars and a pet panther. But seriously, stop it. This shit got out of hand in the early 90s. Don't. Outside of that example, there is absolutely nothing wrong with choosing these personality archetypes at all. They can all lead to extremely fun characters, and the real meat comes from the nuances you impart via the backstory and play experience with them. However, I also recommend players occasionally take a walk on the wild side, lean into the weird, and play against those tropes a bit. For instance, when creating a character, think about what would make a good foil to their strengths. What element of their personality or story could really lend to interesting conflict, both internally and externally, based solely on their class. I mean, much of this can be character flavor, not mechanical, but that is totally up to you. Like, for instance, rogues are known for their professionally stealthy, nimble selves, staying out of the public eye. But imagine a Mr. Bean-esque fool who wandered into the field of thievery accidentally and is unintentionally good at his job. Can't seem to escape his lot in life and believes he fails nearly every time, but each attempt sets off a Rube Goldberg device-like series of events, and then it succeeds or fails spectacularly. Or warlocks are well established for their marrying their fate to darker entities in exchange for power. What if they bound themselves to an evil creature irrevocably for both sides and continue to try to use the dark powers for super good, saving kittens from trees or feeding the poor? The results can vary and get bloody sometimes. Or paladins. They're often expected to be bastions of holy goodness.
Pause.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh.
One of my favorite ideas for a character was the idea of a warlock who has signed a patron with a fiend, and the fiend wants out.
Ooh, interesting.
And he's like, I am going to your plane when I die, and I'm fucking shit up. And like through like some alliance with some other god, like has actually the grounds to make a threat.
Right.
And the fiend is like, dude, hey, you know what? How about I give you Eldritch Blast and you fuck off?
What if I just give you Eldritch Blast? And...
Here, look, just take it.
Just take it.
I don't
and
care. Go
every
away.
level they get more powerful because the fiend is like going like, you know, they could really fuck up my plans, but like I could keep them like satiated right now with another invocation.
Yeah. 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 So I mean, I think, let's be honest, with this kind of tip, we've covered it a bit before, and like I've said before, as my example for a rogue is you go with Bilbo.
Yeah. And then my example of the bard was a bard who's a shit actor.
Yep. Like many things can happen to like have them be that class, but have them be completely different.
Yeah.
I'll always advocate for Necromom.
Necromom?
Necromom.
What's that? I don't know if you mentioned that near me.
Necromom. I'll open up my character ideas notepad. Mother that lost her daughter and just kind of broke. Protective, will act as the party's mom, cooking, making her robes stay clean and everyone is polite. Aims to ultimately resurrect her daughter. And she'll do things like she has like a witch's cauldron that she uses for like brews, but also to like make stew for the party.
Yep.
She has what was it? It was her staff that she uses to cast spells is used equally A to help her to walk, B to help her cast spells, and C to like tap someone in the rump when they're being rude to the NPC shopkeeper.
Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And Superman-like blandness. I fight this theory. Imagine a paladin who is super down and nihilistic, while their deity truly believes they are a worthy vessel who just needs a push. They fight evil out of habit and boredom. Their weapon strikes almost puppeteered by divine influence as they seek the will and inspiration to care again.
Sounds like Saitama.
I also wish to reach out to you players who lament rolling low stats at character creation. Especially one really low stat.
That shit is a gift.
Oh my god, my favorite characters to GM or play as are generally useless at one or many things. Lean into that. Put it somewhere uncomfortable for your normal role-playing space and see where it pushes you as a player. Maybe don't make an ability score that is central to your class too low so as to make it non-functional, but consider that it can be a lot of fun to start off as a bard who is actually really bad at dancing, but insists they'll get better.
See, now, I'm really digging this, because when he was talking about, it's like, oh man, that shit is a gift. I feel his passion. I feel the energy.
Oh yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I watched this video like a year and a half ago.
Oh really? Yeah.
And I latched onto that shit is a gift.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm helping a new player make a character, and like I will quote Matt Mercer on this, that shit is a gift.
Yeah.
Whenever you roll a low stat, I always point to it and I go, that's your role playing stat.
Yeah, totally.
And I also, I am so happy that Geek and Sundry kept that, and they're not like, no, don't swear. I'm so glad they
don't give a shit.
Don't temper that.
They've never given a shit, thankfully.
Yeah, okay, good. Because I don't know anything about Geek and Sundry. I don't know their PR or anything.
Yeah, no, even back, since back in the day, they've been swearing on Critical Role forever.
Okay, good.
What's his face? The main host on Talks Machina, like drops
Brian.
fuck.
Yeah,
he drops fuck all the time.
Yep.
Okay.
Like everyone all the time, which is great.
Yeah,
because I like not censoring shit.
Yeah, because that also makes it feel more familial and more relaxed, because it's not that it's not censored. It's that it's there's an exact word for that kind of swearing, because there's emphatic swearing and derogatory swearing.
Okay.
I forgot what it is, but it's the kind of swearing where it's like, we say bad words here, but we're all in the same group, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah,
it's that kind. It's that relaxed kind of thing.
I get you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that, and
I mean,
it feels real. It feels better.
Marisha has, and I call her Marisha because she's my friend.
Of course.
She's married to my friend Matt.
Of course, yes.
She has a tank top that in glittery text says sleeves are bullshit.
Yep.
What's her bullshit?
Sleeves.
Sleeves.
Oh, sleeves. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yes, I both love and hate low intelligence characters.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation. Like I was playing with my friends here, and one of them made Ragnar. Ragnar was a druid, but he was a barbarian because of how his brain worked.
Okay.
And he would just do things because he was Ragnar, but he was very wise. But he was stupid. So Ragnar was able to lead us through the forests pretty fucking well. And we trusted Ragnar because Ragnar is Ragnar and can do that. He's been living in the woods forever. But whenever we were in any kind of social situation and he just turned into a dog or a cat or something, or a panther, and everyone was like, what the fuck is a panther doing here? When we were just like, Ragnar, we gotta find this thing, and he just would immediately do it. It was a whole thing of trying to explain to him how the world worked outside of the forest, and it was fun.
He's a forest child. He's
exactly. It gave us a lot of funny moments, and Ragnar will forever be in our memories as the only survivor of that party. Because he was.
Damn. Rip, man.
Yeah, no, it was great. Oh, it was so good. He in fact he started building a temple.
Oh,
Ragnar, he made sure to bury us, and he didn't bury the first guy very well. He in fact buried him in something that made him decay so fast. But he buried me very well, and I was gonna stay for a while until he could make it so that we could preserve me. And like he was building a temple, and we had this whole backstory of like he was cursed by the gods, like he was a god cursed by the gods to live with this low intelligence, because we kept having like different kind of things happen because of characters like coming in and coming out ish, and so Ragnar would always remember that there were these other characters that were there, but they would be gone and replaced with somebody else the next day, and everyone else was like, yeah, he's always been here, like and he would go, wait, but
oh, okay.
And his brain would hurt, and he'd just sit there stewing for like a second, and then we'd go, come on, Ragnar, and he'd be like, okay.
What I would love to do if I had a character like that, and they're like trusting me to lead them through a forest, I'd be like, okay. And I'd lead them through the forest, and when we got to the other side, I'd be like, well, that turned out pretty well. And they'd be like, well, what do you mean you were leading us? Yeah, dude, I have no idea where I was going. But you're a child of the forest. You've lived in the forest your entire life. Well, not this forest.
See, you're being way too eloquent. Ragnar was not eloquent like that at all.
What was his intelligence out of character?
I think it was like 6
or so.
Yeah.
So like barely above an animal.
Yeah, exactly. He was smarter when he became some animals. It was great.
Let me turn into owl so I can think.
Quite literally, yeah. It was great. So yeah, and that's right. He would he would become a spider. A regular spider. So that he would have web sense, so that he could detect traps on chests. That was his thing as well, and he would just kind of ride around on people's shoulders as spiders and shit. It was great. Man,
I've had a party, and this was an idea I gave to them, granted, but if you're trying to get a party of like invisible people out of somewhere, and you don't have enough casters or spell slots to make everyone invisible, have the druid turn into a spider,
Yep.
and ride in someone's cupped hands.
Yep.
And then turn the person who's carrying him invisible, because it's a lot harder to notice a floating spider 50 yards out than it is to notice a person running.
Yeah, totally.
True.
Totally. Yeah, good stuff.
Anyway.
With practice, and they just might. There are also ways to dress up the capabilities of your class to narratively function entirely different than expected, though the mechanics of the system remain unchanged. For instance, what if a wizard is instead an arcane shaman from a now-ruined nation destroyed by their arrogance long ago? Instead of a spellbook, they carry a bag of animal bones and arrange them every morning in succession to take spell inspiration gifts from their ancestors, or spell memorization as we know it normally. Spellcasting is not a network of sigils, but the spirits of their bloodline manifesting to defend it.
Ooh.
A barbarian doesn't need to be Conan, but could be instead a blue-collar miner who lost his job, his wife left him, his one son turned 17 and absconded with his savings, and finally he just snapped. He's now a wandering, broken man with a chip on his shoulder and a need to lash out at the world. Go watch the movie Falling Down for inspiration. It's a really great movie. You should really check it out. Now, these are all some fun ideas to make the dungeon master.
I couldn't pause it.
Absconded with his savings and finally movie. You should really check it out.
Yeah, pause.
Now,
I
these
can't
are all
pause.
some
I
fun
can't
ideas
pause.
to mix up the standard expectations of fantasy
Not
RPG.
playing for me.
Well,
Paused for me.
I'm reloading it. But yes.
Okay.
Yes. I am always a fan of weird ways to describe how your character is your character.
Yeah.
Like how all of the things that he said of like different ways to just be a wizard, be a barbarian, all that shit. Super cool.
One of my favorite things was when I played Muscle Wizard, and the way that I memorized my spells was I like tattooed them on myself.
Right.
And I would flex in front of a mirror, and based on what portions of my body I was flexing to like see the tattoo would be what spells I knew for that day.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. It's always interesting to flavor things to make it unique for you. Like how I like to flavor spells, and how back in the day that was introduced to you and me, Aiden, where we would see, like, we would be told what does your spell look like, and we would then have to describe how it was for us.
I remember your first character's Eldritch Blast was a queso blast.
Yes, it was a queso blast for a little bit. That's right.
Yep.
But then
I
it changed.
In our
I
first
remember
edition
trying to jar
campaign.
it.
That's right.
In our first edition campaign, my wizard or magic user, technically, his magic missile was the Galaxy Donut from Dragon Ball Z.
Nice.
So fire out, wrap around, and
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really check it out. Now, these are all some fun ideas to mix up the standard expectations of fantasy RPGs, and these ideas and suggestions extend to all other genres as well. So have fun, find your own weird character themes, and enjoy the stories that follow, because they will, and they'll be memorable. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned.
Thank you, Matt.
Oh my God, give us more, please. Jesus, those are all so good.
I know.
Handsome man.
He is. There is one other one that's a 5-minute video that is relevant, that is also Matt. If we want to do that, it's up to you, Aiden. If
I could do that real quick.
Okay. Yeah. So this
Should
one
take 15 minutes or so.
Exactly. This one is, let me get the link here. This one is getting players to roleplay GM tips with Matt Mercer. Which also is relevant to our topic today.
Hello, my name is Matthew Mercer. I'm a voice actor and the Dungeon Master for Critical Role here on Geek and Sundry, and welcome to today's episode of GM Tips. Today's theme, getting your players to engage in more role-playing.
Yeah.
Now I want to preface this with the idea that you cannot force your players to roleplay. Some just may not be comfortable with it. Some may not be into this game for heavy RP and instead want more of a Diablo-like kill shit, take loot experience. And that's totally fine. It's totally great. A little worrying, but totally great.
Because at first it was just kind of a, and then when it goes to a little worrying,
that's when it becomes funny.
I need to see that again.
Sure.
VRP RP and instead want more of a Diablo-like kill shit, take loot experience. And that's totally fine. It's totally great. A little worrying, but totally great.
It's the delivery of that. Very good, very good. But like legitimate, like to actually bring that up, that is a good thing. It depends on your players, of course.
Yeah.
Like the whole dungeon crawl experience. That is something that some players look at D&D and they're like, that's what I want to play. And that's fair. You know, if that's what you want to run for your players, that's cool. Doing an occasional meat grinder is pretty neat.
I think I mentioned last week my idea on the Adventurers Guild Darkest Dungeon-esque thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that it'd be cool to do for a little while if that's what you're in the mood for. And I think all of us are more in the mood for roleplay these days. But I don't doubt
our
that...
group is pretty focused.
Oh, I'm lagging. I'm lagging. That's why. No, go on.
Yeah, you're lagging real bad.
Yep.
Our group is pretty much all about the story, and we want the story alongside combat.
Yeah. Let me see. Oh.
Ooh, I wonder what his ping is.
Oh, there we go. It's back to 83. Hey,
there we go.
It was at like 2000. Don't worry. But yes, we're all at this point of like the narrative matters more so than the combat. And like occasionally I do get that urge to like be like, okay, combat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it has its time and place.
However, you can certainly engage them with some of the following tips, and you may be surprised which elements they pick up and end up liking. My first recommendation is to talk to your group in advance about wanting to actually RP more in the campaign.
Yes.
You don't want them being caught off guard with an aggressive change in GMing style that asks more of them. It puts them in a weird, awkward place where they feel like they have to perform more for you. You want it to be natural and fun. So listen to them, engage with their eagerness, and adjust your expectations accordingly. Next, if the group is on board, have them develop some written...
Okay, yeah, but so before we go there, my group specifically, or not my group, sorry, the group that I'm in on Wednesdays, is a little less roleplay-y, right? It's just how it is, unfortunately. There are like 3 of us that are dedicated to actually like role-playing more so and talking a lot more, which is unfortunate, and we're trying to do like things to make it so other people are getting into it, but it's one of those things of like, you can't beat a horse to water and force it to drink.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Which is totally fine. It's just one of those things where we kind of wish that we weren't the only ones who were doing the role play. But I remember specifically our DM was like, we need to go over some things. What do you guys want? And a lot of us were like, we should do more roleplay stuff. We want to have more chances to just talk to each other and have the group kind of bond and all that stuff, which is something that I would like to actually see happen. But it's something that she was like, we all talked about it together at the beginning of this current arc that we're on, right? Instead of like, and this was before we started playing it, right? Which is important, because if you just start doing, like he said, if you just start throwing people in there, the sudden change, and they're not used to it already, then, you know, it's going to be a little harder.
Background stories or history about their character, general personality traits, if they haven't already. I mean, not everyone has to write a multi-page backstory. You just have to have like a half-page or one-page history that kind of helps them become more invested in their character, if anything. It aids them in finding elements of their history and inform their own personality traits, impulses, and general reactions to elements they may encounter throughout the campaign. It's a useful tool for everyone involved. You can even award bonus experience or some other small reward if you feel inclined, if you need just a little push to finish it, which you will, because we're all human beings who are busy and lazy. I'm very lazy.
Yes. Yep.
I am also very lazy. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we're D&D players. We're fucking lazy.
Yeah. But that's actually the backstory thing reminds me of another thing from another friend of mine who he has this thing that he does for his players where he encourages something that he calls campfire stories. where you take a little bit. It doesn't matter, like whenever you write like a campfire story that you would tell, random people, like your character would tell. It could be anything that ranges from the purpose that they are adventuring to the other day I saw a man slip on a banana peel and that was funny to me, right? It could be anything at all, just so that you can have something that if you ever are around a campfire just together going out adventuring, or you just have some downtime, you could just bring up and have a conversation with somebody about. And he kind of encourages that with people that are not necessarily good at coming up with things on the spot, just to have something that they write down just to get that idea out there that helps them.
Yeah.
Which I am a full supporter of, but I am not ever gonna do because I'm lazy. And also I don't really write much when it's not like my world and stuff. Yeah.
Some systems, like 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, have a whole section of the sourcebook on character personalities and backgrounds. That can be great guides to fleshing out a character's personality.
Thank you for saying guides.
Yeah.
Guides. They don't have to be exact. Like, you don't have to only use the book. Just look at them and use them as guidelines.
Yeah.
Please.
Yes.
We're just rolling forward if you just don't give a shit.
Oh, damn it.
Get comfortable enough with your early NPCs and their dialogue points to try and engage players with a lot of eye contact and direct gestures. Do not read the entire encounter off the page, because they'll disengage immediately and not really be willing to meet you on a level that you're not willing to meet them. When you begin your in-game foray into upping the RP with your players, you really need to speak to them as the NPCs in the same nature that you wish them to RP in return. Make direct eye contact with whichever party member or members are leading that encounter. Lean in and gesture, or point to them when asking a question of their character. Let them know that they are in the moment, and this is their moment to seize. When a player begins to describe the gist of their response instead of in character, gently remind them to try and respond in character. Like, great, how would Dermond ask that question to me, the jailer? Or, sure, and as those angry thoughts fill her mind, how would Layla express that verbally? Now play.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, one of my friends that is a part of my group that I was DMing for a while, for the quarantine. He and we've all of us in that group have tried to help him with this. Is he will tell us thoughts more so than he will act in character, right? He'll tell us what his character is thinking a lot, and like we're all just like, great, that's great. I'm glad that you're thinking about what your character's thinking, but unless I am using
my character, this is an actionable.
Exactly. Unless I'm
not expressed it.
Yeah, unless I'm using a mind like reading spell, I don't know what you're thinking. So what are you doing? What are you saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was what Matt actually, and I call him Matt because he's my friend.
Of course.
What Matt was so kind to mention was something that I definitely had to get my party in the swing of the first few sessions that they played. Was, okay, now that you think that, say that to me. Like, say that as the barbarian, or say that as the paladin, and express that, and maybe make a roll if it is called for.
Yep.
And as a complete side note, I dig that table so much.
Oh yeah,
because it has like the stone.
The
like
crack.
Look to the crack, and I guarantee you that's a table that you can like separate into two pieces, and there's like legs.
That'd be cool.
On like it would support it as two smaller pieces. I dig that so much.
Also, for those of you out there listening, I apologize for this video being quieter. It just is the audio mixing of the video. I can't really do much of this, unfortunately. It is quite quiet. But yeah.
Quite what?
Quite quiet.
Quiet what?
Quite quiet.
That's my new character name.
Quite quiet.
What quiet?
Sometimes a different or silly voice can help. Textures, speaking in a lighter place on your palate, or just something that's a little different than your normal speaking voice. Fun voices and accents are by no means necessary for the game, but they can help you, as well as your fellow players and GM, separate your in-character dialogue from your own thoughts and comments in the game. Physicality helps too. Think of how different your character would hold themselves compared to you. Would they sit up straight, broaden their shoulders, or curl up and act like a crazy person? Maybe they give giant bombastic gestures. You may find yourself physically embodying your character in RP moments more often once you think on these little details. For all you GMs,
I will say, when I was playing Yulon, I would sit straight. I would have my arms mostly like, not crossed, but like resting near each other, like so that I could have my hands kind of close together most of the time. I found myself like being the good boy, being the attentive good boy. Whereas when I play Gimbal now, I'm slouched. I'm like completely like in the chair, just like half sideways sometimes, just relaxed as shit because that's how he is, right? I find myself doing that shit because it's fun.
Whenever I play Boris, I'm like always fiddling with something.
Oh yeah.
And there's certain NPCs in my campaign that I cannot play that NPC sitting down.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
In particular, there's a hag called Sissy Mildred
Yep.
that I cannot do if I'm not shifting from foot to foot.
Yeah.
And like balling up both of my like hands into like one giant fist kind of.
Yeah.
And like just sort of like shifting around and like beady, shifty eyes looking at everyone while simultaneously talking to everyone and yet no one.
Yep.
And a guy by the name of Shaky Joe.
Right.
Shaky Joe's a lot like the same, and he's always very is always willing to placate everyone and make everyone be happy, and is very much like hands upturned, like a don't hurt me kind of, and looking at everyone and make sure that the person who's closest to him doesn't look like they're gonna shiv him.
And I know whenever I'm playing Mexnir, I'm pantomiming each action that he takes. If he sits up straight, like I'm actually sitting up straight, like I'm suddenly more attentive. If he's sleeping, I'm actually like reclining fully back in my chair and snoring that way. So I actually, it lets you get into the headspace of the character that you're playing a lot easier.
Oh yeah, it's super fun. Like with Mez, I'm definitely more hunched over, and I'm like doing like some moving of my head and like my hands every now and again. Like it's nothing that anyone could ever see, unfortunately. But I'm playing as a small dude, right?
But it helps.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Super fun. So much fun.
Need to be patient. For some players, it's a really big step in letting go of their own insecurities and embracing the play that makes these games so wonderful. Don't expect a huge sudden change. It may just take a while, sometimes a very long while, if at all. Be supportive. Compliment players after a session for good role-playing, and don't scold them for any missed moments or opportunities during the session. Players, also be supportive.
Just before this, well, actually, it goes into being supportive. Yeah. With my friend who would say things out loud, we would definitely, like, we were complimenting him every time we complimented each other every time we had like a particularly good moment. Like it's just one of those things of like when you go, fuck dude, that was great, that was super cool, good job, right? Like I really enjoyed that. It's really nice to hear and nice to say.
And I mean, hell, I was all over it when Aiden came up with you guys' name. I was like, God, everybody loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
And that was, well, I mean, that's spoilers. But
oh yeah. Well, technically that's already out when this goes out.
Okay, I thought it wasn't out yet.
Yeah, it comes out tomorrow, so it'll be out.
Oh, okay.
This goes on Friday, so.
But yeah, even stuff like that, even an out of character thing that relates to the game can be like that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Your other players and willing to elevate your less comfortable players. Let them have the spotlight. Pay attention to them when they're speaking and back up their statements with your own in-character moments. Indeed, or exactly, Layla, if they make a good point in RP. And most of all, have fun. Even just the slightest shift in this direction can lead to some of the most immersive RP experiences. But you have to make sure that all these experiences are still fun for everyone involved. That's the key to the game, and that's the key to really making your players want to engage more on a role-playing level. Anyway, I hope these tips have been useful to you at all. You can find more GM tips here at geekandsunny.com. I look forward to seeing you somewhere on the internet in the near future.
Thanks, Matt.
Yay.
Good video.
Thank you, Mr. Mercer. I call him Mr. Mercer because I don't know him personally, and I'm respecting him from a distance, Aiden.
Oh, no. I should introduce you to my friend sometime.
That would be nice. Then I wouldn't have to call him Mr. Mercer.
Technically speaking, Boo, I've never met you either.
It's true. And I don't hear you calling me Mr. Boo.
No.
Doesn't
or
even
your
give
highness.
you. Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't even give you your full title. Like.
Yeah, he's not heir apparent.
Oh. But yeah, those. I mean, absolutely. With that final point of just like comfortability and all that shit, just it's just it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't need to be said, but it's good that it's said.
Yeah.
Right. Like
it doesn't need to be said, but it still needs to be said. Apparently.
Apparently. Yeah. For some people.
Yep.
But yeah, that's gonna do it for our content today that we are covering. Yeah. Let's go over some final thoughts, boys.
Honestly, everything was really good.
Yeah, I know.
I kind of just agree with everything that was said. I don't really have anything to add.
We're a discussion channel, not a reaction channel.
Yeah, come on.
Okay.
We need to say things. We need to add.
Oh, okay. Then I'll add this. Flank the woman.
Oh, God. Oh. No, why?
Why is it that the one episode we have where we agree with everything that was said is also the episode that has two of the most heinous inventions?
Raid Shadow Legends. Or wait, was it Flank the Woman or was it Stranger Things? Because there was a thumbnail with Stranger.
God damn. It's just no. We
can just make it 3 of the most heinous things, I suppose.
No. I don't want more hyenas. Today was good.
I don't want more hyenas.
Yeah, no more hyenas. Only good things. Oh no. But anyway.
Yeah.
As always, read your player's handbook and wash your filthy hands.
Yep. Stop spreading that Rona.
Put your goddamn phone away.
Or I'll fucking snap it in half.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And then I'll cut your hands off.
Yeah. And with that said, yeah, I don't really feel that there's too much that I can add on because most of these videos are pretty eloquently put and covered their bases well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very solid.
Yeah. Yeah, stay safe and roll high.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just echoing everybody else, these videos were fucking good things. Good. It's good to have a good episode every 15.
Yeah.
We'll have to have the next positive episode be on April 1st.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you to everyone's content there. XP to level 3. You got Ginny D. You've got Geek and Sundry with Matt.
My friend Matt.
Yep. all of our best friend.
Except Boo, apparently.
Except for Boo. Yeah. He's really got to get on that.
I do.
And
I've never gone to a convention before. What?
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. So yeah. Remember, you can find this podcast first on YouTube on Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then again on Mondays on your podcasting service of choice, audio podcasting service of choice, at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have our Devils and Dice campaign that is going up every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is only on YouTube for now. I'll start transitioning it over onto podcasting services once I actually get a logo made, because I'm lazy, and also I haven't thought about buying one yet. So
should we still be calling it Devils and Dice now that you guys have a name?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
It's Devils and Dice, but the name is that we have the name as our.
I thought you were gonna like the AAA Devil campaign or something.
No.
Oh, no, dude. Devils and Dice is like so cool, and it fits with discussion and discourse.
Yeah, it does. It's really cool. And then and then we have the name in game. But yeah. Please remember. Oh, we also have the Twitter account, TableTalk D&D or Dand. If you want to tweet at us, I've been spacing every now and again to put things out on there because I'm a bad person and also either asleep because we stay up till 5 a.m. playing Warhammer, or or I just forget to.
Oh, please. It was 6 last time.
It was 6 last time. You're right.
Oh, man. You guys stayed up.
Yeah.
Jesus. Even more than I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling it. But yes, don't forget to leave us comments, likes, reviews on the podcast. Just make sure to share it with your friends, share it with other people, share it with everyone that you don't know, because growth is important so that we can
We are the official medium on Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games. So feel free to enjoy us 4 times a week when we get the podcast up for Devils and Dice.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah.
I will not be content until we are bigger than Critical Role.
Well, I do technically have 3 campaigns all ready to go. It's just
we will never be bigger.
2 more, you know what I mean.
Bigger than Critical Role. But yes, and I'll try to also get us to get more notoriety out there. I've got to figure out more ways, but
just
if you guys
start posting stuff that triggers people.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That'll get people to notice.
Oh, you're right. If you have any good suggestions for topics or anything really, make sure to let us know. Very important. You can send us an email if you want. We have tabletalkd&d at gmail.com. That is our email. So if you want to send that too,
you can send us snail mail at www.1-800 Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh yeah, of course.
Gov.
Yep, that's
.gov.
That's how you snail mail now.
Yep.
But
that's
yes,
our address.
Don't forget to buy postage.
Yeah, it's important.
And you're gonna have to give it to NASA to actually get it to us.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because we broadcast from Alpha Centauri.
That's true.
We have an exclusive trade deal.
Yep.
And so actually, you know what that means? If we broadcast from Alpha Centauri, that means that we're already dead by like 1 billion years.
It's
because
true.
It takes this long for our shit to actually reach you guys' solar system.
Yep. It's taken until
Rip
2020.
Us.
Woo!
Rip us.
Good stuff.
So, we're a few thousand years ahead of you, you fucking plebs.
Well, hold on. Does that mean that, say at the time of recording, it is 2020?
Okay.
Does that mean that we are behind the times because when it gets to them, it'll be whenever in the future?
Yes.
Or does it mean that we're ahead of the times because we recorded this back in like the 1800s?
We're ahead of our time. We're behind their time.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's 2020 in our universe.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's going to be like the year
universe.
Yeah, it's going to be like the year 2 million or 2 billion or something.
Yes, exactly.
Over there.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Very much appreciate it. I hope you continue to. I hope you continue to stay safe out there. And
you do that thing.
Yes.
That thing you've been putting off by listening to the podcast. I'm talking to you right now, all right?
You can do both. Come on.
Do it.
Shit. Guys, I just realized.
Yeah.
We have to redo the whole podcast.
Oh?
The whole thing.
Uh-huh.
Because that means they're probably on D&D Billion Edition right now.
Oh, you're right. Fuck.
No, we can still bitch about 5th edition.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true.
Yeah. Anyway.
And 4th, whatever that is.
What do you mean?
What?
That's never been a thing. But yes, thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.